I'm waiting for the Star Wars Guys podcast. They'll be back on Wednesday at
I love it.
8:30.
I'm waiting for my
For
family.
the Star Wars Guys.
They're
They'll
starting
be
a
back
bit.
on Wednesday.
They're starting a bit late tonight, but they'll be back.
Starting a bit late tonight.
Welcome
immediately
back.
Immediately roast ourselves for
You
being
have
late.
to.
Well,
Self-deprecating.
you gotta play. You gotta have fun
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
our style. Nate loves a good purge. If you watched last episode, you get that reference.
a good purge.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening or wherever podcasts can be listened nowadays, there's a
Yeah.
lot of places, I think. Thank you for tuning in to the Star Wars Guys podcast. We are your hosts as always. I am Mike. This is
Nate.
Nate, who are you?
Hello
Tell 'em.
there.
You're Nate.
Hello there.
Uncle? I didn't bury the lead. I said your name ahead of it. I usually say, and you know him well.
Wow.
Uncle. Uncle of Bastoon. No,
Uncle of
That's my new Star Wars name.
anything with two syllables
Whoa,
of
whoa, whoa.
Bastoon
What did we hear?
works.
Uncle
This is
of
Nathan
Bastoon.
of Bastoon.
Oh man.
Of Bastoon.
But yeah, we got a fun episode tonight. We're going to talk about why
right.
we love. Wait for it. This could be controversial.
Could
why we love the sequels.
Yeah.
Why we love the sequel trilogy. Why we love. You could maybe expand and say why we love the Disney era of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Why we. I don't know. We'll save that because that's what the episode's for. But that's what we're going to talk about, Nate.
Yeah.
Before we get into
Yeah.
it, what do you have to tell the people?
If you've been here the last couple of weeks, we want to mention our upcoming giveaway. We will be giving once we hit 5,000 subs, we're approaching 4,000 now. Once we hit 5,000 subs on YouTube, we are going to do a live giveaway here on our channel. We've got Funko Pops, Star Wars phone cases. We've got merchandise
That's
coming.
cool.
Yeah, some shirts and stuff. We're gonna.
I think
We're
we should
gonna give some
just
stuff
start
away.
throwing in some more stuff. If we can accumulate
Just start
some
adding
more,
things.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could think I'll throw something in there.
A trip to Galaxy. No.
You could win a new car. No.
But yeah, we're going to be doing that stuff. So if you guys don't already have the notification bell for our channel turned on, make sure to turn that on because you will not want to miss that live episode. You got to be there live when we do the giveaway. And anybody that's there will be eligible to win some prizes, some things. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Diving into why we love the sequels.
Can I
Right.
preface just a little bit?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
it.
go for it.
If we talk about on this podcast, we are a positive mindset, right?
Right.
And we've mentioned from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that our compassion leaves a trail.
Yeah.
We want that to be true of
That's
us.
right.
And what did Rose say in The Last Jedi? We don't win by killing what we hate. We win by
Saving what we
saving what
That's
we
right.
love. So we are saying we love these, and we're going to talk about the positives that we like. We're not going
Right.
to try to bash anybody who disagrees or
Right.
say why
No.
they're all wrong, even though we might chant morons from time to time.
Morons,
we're
morons.
gonna focus on the things that we love, not necessarily things that we
Right.
hate.
And this does not mean that if we say we love this movie or that movie, that we think we stand behind every single moment in this entire movie, that it was
No.
exactly perfect. No, there's things we'd change in every movie, every TV show of Star Wars.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's things that we like. So we just want to highlight some of the things.
I like the stuff
things
that
we
And I
like.
think it could be. I think a fun part of this discussion could naturally lead into also when we're talking about this specific movie, and I'm sure some things will come up of like, listen, I'll be honest, not my favorite part of this movie.
Right.
There's stuff throughout, just like we
Yeah.
say there is in every Star Wars movie. Going back to even the original trilogy, which we love and so many of us hold so near and dear to our hearts, because
Right.
for a lot of us, that's how we got into Star Wars. Whether it was your first time watching the prequels, which there's definitely some things there, the originals, or the sequels, or animated shows. There are things that connect with you more than others. There are comedy beats in some of the sequel movies that I'm like, I love that. And then there are comedy beats in the same movie that I go, swing and a miss for me, which is okay. Someone else might have loved that.
is
Yeah.
true
Which is
of
fine.
every movie.
It's true of every movie.
Every movie. There are
It
moments
is.
you're like, when Rocky goes, I want to know how. Like, what does that mean? I want to know how.
Exactly.
How come? I want to know how.
Listen,
There are moments in every movie.
I love Rocky.
absolutely.
I was just talking
Yeah.
about this the other day. I love Rocky IV. I mean, as a kid growing up, Rocky IV was one of my favorites, if not my favorite at
Yeah.
the time, because it was like it had the training montage. 'Cause it had, again, it took a while. It probably took a little bit longer for me to realize that one was a better movie. Because I was like, but he's jacked in
I mean,
4,
come
and
on.
he's doing all this stuff. it took, and again, if you want to pick and choose, like, is it realistic that Rocky's boxing match ended the Cold War? Like, that's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch that the Russian embassy would go, Rocky, Rocky.
Or the guy that has
and start cheering for
2,100
him.
pounds per punch, he could hit him 97 times. He's like,
The
It's so bad,
same
it's so
guy,
tough.
the
It's so
same
bad.
guy who connected with Apollo Creed's temple and was killed
Yeah.
immediately. That
Your
because
game
of
plan
Rocky,
is to let him hit you
because of
as much
Rocky's-
as he
My
wants.
my plan is to wear him out. You're now taking 100 grenades to the head. I don't care what mental fortitude you have. The skull
Welcome to
is
the
only
Rocky
so
4
strong.
podcast.
and we
This
love
is
it.
we love it, and this is
Rocky,
all I'll
Rocky.
say. There will be some things like this we talk about. They're like, hey, not my favorite,
Right.
But I think where not
Welcome to the Rocky
lift us
podcast.
up and put others down, but where I think we try to always err on the side of is having those things that we joke, just like when people joke about Anakin and sand.
It ain't that kind of movie.
Anakin
kid.
and sand. It's not, it's probably not the greatest written line. It comes off a little awkward too. There's some directing issues there, writing stuff. Great. Does it ruin the prequels for me? No.
No.
There's so much there that I love, and there's
That's right.
other problems, and you have to weigh those.
Moments.
But
Yeah.
all that to say, with these with the sequels, there's a lot of stuff that we really love in here, and there'll be some stuff that we bring up. They're like, oh, not our
Right.
favorite.
Yeah.
So I don't think you'll hear all of us. I don't think
Yeah.
any of us will be like, this is why this movie is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the greatest movie to ever come out in cinematic history because of this. And anyone who disagrees is a
Right.
moron.
Moron.
No, so,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Yeah. Before we dive into it, I just want to welcome everybody that's in the chat. Welcome. We got J-Man. Dude, where's my car? Welcome. I like
Oh,
the name.
welcome.
All right.
There's Ash. Is that Ashton
J-Man
Kutcher?
coming out hot saying The Last Jedi equals elite top tier.
Ooh.
Don't at me.
Oh, we'll get into that.
All right.
I like it.
We'll get
I
into that,
like it.
J-Man. I like it.
Revin, what's going on? Welcome to chat, everybody. Welcome.
Revin?
Yeah, feel free to
We're getting
join
heavy
along
hitters.
in the conversation as we go about this and comment things that you like, or maybe it's something you dislike or something, but you want us to touch on that topic. Feel free to throw those in the chat while we're talking to, and we'll make sure to talk about it and address those. So is there anything off the top of your head that just immediately overall, maybe not a specific movie, but overall sequels, why you enjoy the sequels as a whole?
I mean, from a just real life standpoint, I think that it's, and we'll get into the specifics of the movies themselves. But one thing that jumps when we were talking about this as a possible topic discussion.
You mean like an hour ago?
Yeah. Don't let them know. Wait, don't let them know we actually prepared for this.
Planned ahead.
That's a
We're
long
way
time
ahead
for us.
this week.
One of the first things that jumps into my mind is one of the reasons, not the only reason, one of the reasons I love the sequels is that without Disney purchasing Star Wars, we wouldn't have this podcast. We wouldn't have new weekly shows, movies that are coming out every few years. There's actually what's crazy now is to think that there is more Star Wars that has come out after Disney than there was that was before Disney.
That's crazy.
Now again, it would be now 5 films that have come out after,
Mhm.
6 that came out before.
Yeah.
No TV shows before except for Clone Wars was
And the
started
holiday
before
special.
in the holiday special. And then you have the are they related, are they not related, the Ewok adventure.
Right.
movies.
Yeah.
Canon adjacent, I'd say. And then you have, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, multiple seasons of Mandalorian. You've got
In
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
entertainment
you've all
hours,
that.
we have well surpassed.
We have well surpassed.
Yeah.
We have a lot. Although
Yeah.
Clone Wars is long.
Clone Wars is long.
Clone Wars is long. There's a lot
That's
there.
true. That's true.
You
Maybe,
throw in Rebels, Mando.
maybe
Rebels,
not.
Mando, Visions,
Boba Fett,
we've got
Visions.
Season 7.
Resistance, we've got a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
coming. Bad Batch. But so one of the things I love that we are getting new Star Wars. I will say, and I know Nate, you've mentioned on the podcast before that as much as I've grown up with Star Wars and always loved Star Wars, and we've talked Star Wars for many years.
Yeah.
Uncle can attest this. Well before we had a podcast, we were sitting around talking like this, holding microphones. Actually, no, we weren't
They
holding.
weren't plugged
microphones.
in.
They weren't plugged in, but we were like,
Mentally, we're all just plugged in.
someday. Back then, 20 years ago, we're like, if a podcast is a thing, eventually, we will do this.
We want to have one.
But it reignited my love for Star Wars is greater than ever.
Yeah. And I don't.
And one of the reasons is that we've gotten the stuff. I think I love the originals more now than ever.
That's what I was gonna say. Is
Even
going
with
off
this,
that,
just
not
'cause now
just the new stuff.
I think about it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the new stuff. The originals, the prequels. My love for all of Star Wars, those included, has grown exponentially because Star Wars has been been relevant
Right.
again with the purchase of Disney and the content still coming. I mean, you could. I don't know the statistics, but I could assume maybe 99% of Star Wars creators on YouTube and TikTok and all these platforms wouldn't be doing what they're doing now without Disney purchasing Star Wars, without the sequels, without all of it, because people wouldn't really be talking about it. They would have moved on to other things.
It's the reason why we're not doing a Rocky podcast.
That's right.
Exactly.
Even though they're still
Exactly.
making Rocky movies, it's not quite.
Yeah.
I would love
the
a
front
Back
of
to
our
the
mind.
Future
That's true.
podcast
Oh man,
because that'd be great. There's not a ton of weekly breaking Back to the Future
I
news.
know.
The closest we
No.
have is that Christopher Lloyd has been cast in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
be
exactly.
the
Right.
beginning and end of our week of that podcast.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's so much that's come out that's new that gets me excited because of it. But then if we're talking specifics about the actual sequels, and we'll get real deep dive into each of the movies here in a few moments. But just from an overarching, complete. Just looking now at the completion of what they called the Skywalker saga,
yeah.
and now getting this final trilogy of movies. There's also just so much in there that I love, that having seen now those core 9 movies and then plus the 2 spin-off films with Rogue One and Solo, there's some of my favorite Star Wars stuff we've ever gotten.
Oh
Each
my
of those movies,
goodness.
each of those 3
Yeah.
movies, especially if we're just focusing right now mainly on Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, each of those movies I think had moments that had me tear up while watching them. Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker, many moments that made me tear up. But then there's also like so many cool moments that I think is important. Star Wars has always had this cool element to it. There's this hopeful element that Kathleen Kennedy and
Yeah.
George Lucas have said for many years is so important.
Right.
There's things that I think of in whether it's a weekly basis or a very frequent basis that just relates to my own life. There's life lessons in there that I'm like, there's quotes that sometimes when I'm like, hey, this is what I need. That I know I
Yeah.
need to do this, or I need to step up and do this, or I need to learn from this mistake and move on. It might sound
Yeah.
cheesy as a 30-year-old, but there are moments and there are lessons that Luke Skywalker learns in The Last Jedi.
And there's a
that-
reason why that lesson is taught to Luke as an older, person than a child.
Yeah.
It's showing that even an older adult who's this legend can still learn these lessons and still grow from it to go on and teach these to the next generation to come,
And one of the final kind of overall things, and I'll pass off to one of you guys, is also one of the big questions that we all had coming into Force Awakens. And we're fans of the prequels here, but everyone talked about this is the first Star Wars film since then. And JJ's even said in interviews, everyone was like, will we get that original Star Wars feel that we all fell in love with the lived-in feeling? Even though there's still a lot of computer animation CGI stuff. I remember the making of documentary where they're doing behind the scenes stuff for Force Awakens, and it's Mark Hamill, who ends up being hardly in that film at all. He's there at the very end, but he's talking about how it's real locations, it's practical effects. He's like, it's the Star Wars you guys know, but you don't know this story, this part of it. He's like,
Yeah.
it's very much the story you know, but it's something that's new and fresh, but it very much feels like it's coming home. Like it's the Chewie we're home is not just a moment for Han Solo, but it felt like all of us as Star Wars fans seeing that trailer and being like, we're coming back to, and that's not even necessarily a shot at the prequels. It had been 20 years since we got the prequels almost. That we're like, yeah. We're getting exactly. It's been 20 years since the Falcon. We're back in that. So there's just so much there that I mean, shoot, it's been since 2014 would have been the trailer. 2015 was when Force Awakens came out. Where now I have even nostalgia for that time period. I saw a picture today on social media of someone said, "Do you remember how kind and hopeful everyone was going into
when this trailer
Force
came
Awakens?"
out? I know.
And and even though all 3 of us are very pleased with what came after that, there's discourse and there's people who
Yeah.
want to put stuff down, and that's part of the age of the internet and social media and stuff like that. But
Right.
yeah, overall thoughts when you guys think of, we'll dive into the movies, but overall thoughts of when you think of the sequel trilogies, what comes to mind, Uncle? What do you think?
Well, my first thought when you said that was I don't get angry at people that hate the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
It actually I feel sad because there's so much there to enjoy, and they don't.
Yeah,
I would rather. I mean, it doesn't. I don't get angry. You have
it doesn't
a different
affect you.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm just more sad because we came to this place where these 3 great movies have come out and they're not able to enjoy them. They don't get it for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
For me, what I love about the sequels, you hit on it. I don't think I never cried in episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did in 7. I did in 8. I did in 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
There are little moments. I'm not weeping, but there
Yeah.
are moments that it
Yeah.
just
Not
hit you.
inconsolable.
That it
but
hit
yeah.
you.
Han and
So-
Chewie coming back, seeing the
Ben
Millennium
and
Falcon.
Han
Ben
that,
and
like,
Han?
oh my goodness!
I've
Luke
watched
and,
that
Luke
scene
and
so many times.
Leia, Last Jedi.
Even the
I
scene with
mean-
Rey and Ben, when they're pulling from his mind, and
Yeah.
perhaps the greatest acting sequence in any Star Wars movies happened in 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
So
good.
the emotional, the moments for me, movies are about moments. I remember moments from the movies, and that feeling in those moments then sticks with me.
I like that.
And it's not about
Moments,
the whole
yeah.
thing; it's about those moments. And if you create those moments, they last. And these sequels have some of the best moments in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Emotional, but also I have no problem whatsoever with how we ended Han Solo's journey.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, I don't like that he died, but we all die,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And in a sense, he died. His death brought then about the possibility of redemption for Ben later.
Yeah.
That's the thing of
Yeah.
what happens
So-
in episode 9 adds to 7 so
it
much.
was
right.
the way
about
he
that.
went out.
That's
that
right.
moment makes when you talk about we talked not to step on this at all, but just to add what you were just saying. We had a discussion a couple weeks ago about why does Obi-Wan not kill Vader at the end of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? And we talk about like, well, what are the actual logistics of why he doesn't do it in that moment? And it's kind of up for debate. What we do know is that if he would have done that there, if he had killed him there, Luke Skywalker does not overcome the Emperor in Return of the Jedi
Mhm.
because he needed his
Or
father's help to do that.
Things,
Yeah.
go a different way.
They go a different way. I mean,
right.
there's a number of things that change because of that, and that ultimately Han is the only one. Even Luke in Last Jedi is like, it's not going to go the way you think.
That's right.
I can't reach Ben. Rey, you can't reach Ben, even though you connect with him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're not going to pull him out of this.
That's right.
It's only, and again, Rey helps with the way she heals him, and maybe that kind of gets his heart in a place too. But it's the Han.
It's the memory.
the father.
He doesn't throw the lightsaber and
And-
realize until he sees and thinks
Brought
of the
about
memory
by
of
Leia.
Han.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I talk about the resolution of my favorite characters of our original 3.
Yeah.
We get a resolution to Han Solo's arc and how he brings about redemption for Ben. We get a resolution for Luke, which I have no problem for. I have no problem with how that went out.
No.
None whatsoever. And we get resolution to maybe not the way we had thought it would go for Leia.
Yeah.
And I think it's very poetic. 7 is Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
8 is Luke Skywalker. 9 is Leia. And those characters, as much as we like them, they can't make movies forever.
No,
So
and unfortunately,
they
the
got
real
an
world stuff
opportunity.
with Carrie Fisher, there are things
That's
that
right.
happen too.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity for them to leave the Star Wars universe in a way that's noble, in a way
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
powerful. And each of them, in a different way, brought about something good
Yeah.
by their death. And we saw that in the sequels. Without that, Luke is forever young, and Han Solo is Luke is forever the Jedi that never did anything.
Yeah,
He's forever the Jedi that Han Solo is forever the reformed smuggler who we never got to see the
yeah.
future. Leia is the Jedi who never was.
yeah,
Those are all things that we never got
Right.
Yeah.
without the sequels.
Yeah.
What's interesting is you kind of forget a little bit. As a kid growing up, I think of Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi as fully formed Jedi. He's not.
No,
in
he's
Return
not.
of the Jedi, I just even listened to what Yoda actually tells him.
Mhm.
Luke's like, so I am a Jedi. He says, not yet.
No.
You have to go face Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go like, this is the last thing standing. Because it's funny because in episode in episode 5 in Empire Strikes Back, he tells Luke, do not go face Vader. You're not ready. And Luke's like, I have to go save my friends.
Right.
And Luke doesn't end up getting there in time to save his friends. The stuff with Han happens.
Mm-hmm.
Leia is not rescued because of Luke. It's because Lando turns and helps them. And that Luke goes there and he does exactly what Yoda said would happen is he falls into a trap.
Right.
And he loses his hand because of it. And luckily, Vader wasn't really trying to kill him, or else he could have done it right then. He wasn't even close to ready. I mean, Vader's toying with him that whole fight and just starts throwing stuff at him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Return of the Jedi, you're like, oh, he's had some training and a little bit of time have passed. But then it's very specific that he's like, so he's talking with Yoda before Yoda dies. So I am a Jedi. He's like, no, not yet. You have to go. This is your final thing. You have to. But then when you talk about what we never saw is, we end with him just becoming a Jedi. And that was it.
Right.
And as much as we love that, and for a long time we thought that was going to be it.
Right.
I mean, it's funny now when everything, especially in today's society with the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff, we're always wondering what happens afterwards for Rey.
That's right.
What happens with the new school? What happens with Luke? What
Right.
is this the biggest challenge he ever faced? Was as a 25-year-old? Does anything else happen when ends up? And
yeah, that's where Rey is at now.
And then getting to see Luke
And I
have
wanna hear
that
those
different
stories, too.
role.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to see
Having Luke getting to see the more, and again, there's a reason. We'll get into a lot of The Last Jedi, especially. But there's a reason why I come back to The Last Jedi for lessons and for things that I love about that movie more and more. And I loved it right when I saw it, but we've talked about it. It was a movie more than any Star Wars movie I've ever seen, where I had to like decompress afterwards. Like I saw it and was like,
it's funny. The first
man,
time I
what
saw
did
it,
I just see?
we
And it
both
was-
were like,
Is it?
I don't know how I feel about this yet, honestly. And now, I mean, looking back,
and
rewatching
there were a
and stuff.
number of things. One of the things that I had to come to grips with was, I think Uncle, you hit it too, was it wasn't I had any problem with Luke going out. It was like accepting that the hero I looked at, that was the end. I saw
Yeah.
the end of it.
Yeah.
His time had come.
Yeah.
But then what's so interesting is, and some other people point this out as well, not saying that you have to love Luke's journey or all that stuff. It's one of my favorite parts of The Last Jedi is Luke's journey.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are like, oh, the way he went out,
Not my
this
favorite,
or this. If you have a problem specifically with Luke's death, my question, and we brought it on the podcast before, we brought it up before, would be what would have been better? Would you have rather seen Luke go out and fight Ben and be killed, bested by a student? That's
Yeah,
not talk about not my Luke Skywalker.
That
Yeah.
can't work.
That's not the Luke Skywalker that we know. You want to see just what's going to be more heartbreaking? Seeing the Jedi that we love go out as a symbol of hope and peace and purpose and igniting the flame that's going to burn the First Order down, like they say at the end of
Confront the whole First Order with a laser sword?
or
Right.
or just
Stand
be
down.
bested and be like, oh, you're just not that good, Luke, and be killed by it. No, I don't want to see that. Like that would be that'd be way worse than what we got.
Yeah.
What we got felt very satisfying to me. The only thing and I didn't even wrestle with it, but the only internal feeling down about it was
It's like he's actually gone.
it was actually gone.
Yeah.
Like it was feeling like that. Had a little bit of that with Han Solo, and
Arguably the strongest Jedi move or ability I think we've ever seen on screen.
oh yeah, there's so much. I mean,
Well,
there's so much there.
And if you haven't read Shadow of the Sith, the Adam Christopher book, they bear out some of those abilities in the book, and they step into those further. How Luke discovered kind of, oh wow, that's how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So there's there's
Yeah,
so much
anyway.
there, but I think that when we talk about what are some of this, and this could be part of this fun discussion too, when we talk about what we love about them, some of the characters we just talked about, the big three, I think, and then include Lando. I love Lando's role in Episode 9. Like
it was
Uh,
perfect.
it
to
was
have
so
him.
good
Whoa,
to have him there. I
Right.
think especially with the absence, which is kind of funny because I don't think it's intentional, But I do know that listening to some behind the scenes podcasts and everything, that one of the big reasons that Billy D. Williams was cast in Empire Strikes Back was that George Lucas was not confident that he was going to be able to get Han, that he was going to get
He
Harrison
needed
back.
another,
And he needed
scoundrel.
someone who was, there's a reason why there's also similarities.
Smooth
They're
talker,
both
smuggler.
charismatic, all this.
That's right.
And a lot of people maybe don't know or maybe have forgotten that it's one of George has said. It's one of the reasons he froze him in carbonite
Yeah.
was that he can either say this is kind of the end of him, like he's dead, but if I can talk Harrison to coming back, we can bring him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also we introduce this charismatic character who, if we lose Harrison Ford, we've got Billy D, and he's going to be be and then
Which,
he'll be the new big three.
You know, in the 21st century, we talk about retconning. Does that not what that is? I mean, that's like he wrote the script based on contract negotiations.
Exactly.
I mean, we're okay with that?
So while
Yeah,
The
I am.
script.
I'm
so
fine.
so while it
Right?
while it maybe stinks that in the
JJ
new
didn't do
era
that.
we didn't get any Han and Lando interacting. Like maybe that stinks that we didn't get
Yeah.
any Han and
Yeah.
Lando interacting. But what's funny is what we did get is the real life fulfill of they lost Harrison after 7 because Han dies. And then
Right.
in 9, they
Did exactly that.
they get Lando back as the charismatic older gentleman that they need to
Yeah.
kind of fill that role. And then
Yeah.
also just navigating the horrible real life tragedy of what happened with Carrie Fisher is
Right.
obviously was sad. It was such a sad thing, and also obviously had impact into what they were going to do with the story. I couldn't have imagined both Ryan to see one what Ryan was able to do with episode 8 and have that happen and have it not feel like his felt like a goodbye love letter to
It
Princess
did.
Leia with the Luke stuff and the Leia stuff
Right.
and what are you looking at me for? Follow him. And she's like passing the torch. And then JJ to follow that up by going, actually, we've got some footage we never used
Yeah.
that we can do this in a way, and maybe it's not all perfect, and some of it you can tell they're redoing some scenes, like using her minimal dialogue. But to me,
Right.
It's
never
fine.
takes me out of the movie at all.
Not at
No.
all.
No.
And if you, and I don't like to compare, but we are. I will. I mean, I love Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, but I mean, really, when you John Boyega, Daisy Ridley,
Oscar
Isaac,
Adam
Adam
Driver.
Adam Driver could
These guys
I
are like,
mean, come on.
These guys
they're
are-
all writing they've all got an amazing future
Yeah.
already ahead of them. Just their acting chops.
Yeah.
We had the acting in the sequels is far beyond anything.
It's so good. The
That we saw in
casting
Star
there,
Wars.
the casting was unbelievable there as far as those. I mean, Adam Driver. I've heard other actors who have worked with Adam Driver who are like, he might be as good as any actor in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're like, he is
There's a reason he's in everything right
unbelievable.
now.
Right.
Oscar
Yeah, I
Isaac.
mean-
Sought
Oscar
after.
Isaac is unbelievable. He's
Yeah.
such a good actor. Daisy Ridley was the biggest unknown kind of all of them coming
Right.
into it. Even John
Yeah.
Boyega had been in a little bit more stuff than she had, and we've talked about she is unbelievable as an actor and all. And we kind of quote even just the way she says Chewie, like when she screams it out of
Right.
this like panic that she thinks she just accidentally killed
Yeah.
Chewbacca.
That behind the scenes thing JJ was talking about, the scene in 7
Mm-hmm.
when she's crying and he's getting into her brain.
Yeah.
And then and then she's like, "Is that okay?
Yeah, it's,
We do it again?" Sure. Boom. She's right back in it and just tears. Like it's unbelievable.
I remember
It's
seeing. I
amazing.
think they had shown now after the completion too. They showed like some of her audition,
Yeah.
like or just maybe it was even JJ talking about like her just reading the pages of that and
And
like
found
full
it.
on doing it. And JJ's like, oh my gosh,
How do you
like,
find that here?
and this is JJ Abrams has worked with a lot of people, and he's
Yeah.
like, you are unbelievable.
Right.
And
Nate, what
so
do you
yeah,
think?
it's
Thoughts?
Nate.
I mean,
let's finally get to you.
I mean, overall, yeah. I mean, same thing you guys are saying. Back to bringing bringing Star Wars back to being relevant again.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing, but bringing the main the big three, getting some redemption there. Now, I will say one of the biggest arguments I see from people that dislike the way the trilogy played out was that they weren't on screen together, all three of them.
Yeah.
Which I could get that because a lot of people hear they're coming back. You want to see them together, so I
Right.
get that. That would have been a cool thing
At least
to see.
not
It would have
much.
been,
Yeah.
Not all
Would have
three.
been a cool thing to see. Good moment. But I think each of their interactions individually, I mean, it's hard to top Luke's moment with Leia.
Mhm.
Coming back and just the look in their eyes and the way the dialogue goes, knowing Han's gone, knowing there's so much communication in the acting and what they say there that reflect Luke feeling sad about Ben, feeling responsible, but realizing that he's also overcome everything
Right.
that he's been hiding from for the last however many years,
Mhm.
and then to go out and confront the First Order and kind of be the spark, the legend that they all wanted to still be there. I mean, there's just so many good moments. Obviously, there's things that you could say I maybe would have done differently or weren't my favorite. But, like, for instance, a lot of people like to go to the Canto Bite, like, oh, that wasn't my favorite moment. And that was kind
Yeah.
of a side story. And then it ended up they didn't find the Master Codebreaker in the end, all that stuff. I get when you hear some of the reasoning why that was necessary for the characters, I get that. Could there have been a different route to do that and get the same point across? Maybe. But, I mean, a lot of that stuff comes down to, like, preference of what people want. So,
Right.
like, if you preferred something else, that's one thing, and that's totally fine. I mean, people can prefer different things to have played out differently, but there's so many things about the dialogue. Mike, you touched on it too, the different lessons. I mean, I keep coming back. You guys know my favorite quote. I think we talked about this last week, is the Last Jedi quote of the greatest teacher failure is arguably one of the best lessons in all of Star Wars. I mean, it completely sums up the whole theme of Star Wars and hope.
Yeah.
That you're still providing hope, but doing that through a way of teaching the failures so that the next generation can learn from what you've done wrong. So there's a lot of lessons and life lessons that
Ryan
are
is
pulled
so
from it.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought of something. Ryan is so deep. In 8, we hear failure the best teacher is. You know that all 3 missions failed, by the way,
All of them.
Yeah.
which makes it like
It's
it's
the
not
whole
an
point
accident.
of that
Canto
movie.
Bite was
It's
about
the whole
failure.
point of the
Yeah.
movie is
It's the whole point of that.
It's
Yeah.
the middle movie of the trilogy,
Right.
and he's trying to take all the big characters and face them against what could possibly be the hardest thing that they need to what's the biggest challenge that these characters need to come across,
Right.
so then it can be resolved going into the finale of the saga, or in this case the trilogy, the
That's right.
sequels. Because knowing there's another film to be made,
Yeah.
you don't have to spend half the movie resolving that and answering it and then
That's
doing
right.
it. This whole movie is supposed to be about what's the biggest challenge for each of these characters, what are, like, really breaking them down and showing
Right.
what is it you're doing, what's your purpose, all of them trying to find out. That Rey's whole thing is, who am I?
Mhm.
What's my plan in this whole thing? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So,
Yeah. And when I say failed, all of the missions failed until he said failure the best teacher is.
yeah,
Yep.
Then they go to Crate, and now they realize
resolution,
ah.
yeah.
But Ray trying to turn Kylo failed,
Yep.
right? Them
The
trying to
code
escape
breaker
from
failed.
them trying to escape from the Star Destroyer failed. Holdo had to come in, shooting down the ships. They were failing escaping. Canto Bite failed.
Right.
Master Codebreaker. All of that was a failure.
Yeah.
They failed getting in. All of those were failures. And Ryan is telling us this movie is about failure, and all of them learned that there's failure the best teacher is.
It's also
I think it's totally in his. That's the point,
totally.
and I
Yeah.
love it because it's so deep.
I love Ryan's stuff because it is so deep and there's so much there that it's so obvious once you see it that,
Right.
oh, this was so intentional what Ryan was doing here. And there's so much that's consistent throughout his movie where he sets something up. He does this a lot with a lot of his movies, and like even sometimes it's more on the nose, like the game is afoot and
Yeah.
Right,
like,
with
so
the blood
talking
on
about
Knives
that,
Out.
the blood and Knives
Right.
Out, and it's genius. But like if you've been listening all along, the answers are there.
Yeah.
Right.
And when we talk about The Last Jedi, one, it's interesting because it's so consistent. The parallels between that and Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back, failure, they have to evacuate Hoth. Like, it's the whole movie is, in same thing with Last Jedi, is what Poe is trying to learn and what Leia is trying to teach him at the beginning of Last Jedi is the lesson that's consistent throughout the movie. Winning is not necessarily beating them on this battle.
Killing
it's
more of them than
living
us.
another day.
That's right.
We're outnumbered.
And
When
Rose.
they have us, yeah.
Right. Same thing.
When they are, and Rose, it's the exact same thing Rose is telling.
Mhm.
So the failures that they're experiencing there, one of the things when Luke kind of comes in and saves them, Luke doesn't turn around where they then fight on Crate and overpower him and win.
Mm-mm.
He just finally shows them victory in this battle is escaping and
That's
getting
right.
out. We're trying to attack the Finn's trying to come at them with the thing and with the little speeders, and Rose gets him out of there. It's like, hey, that's not how we win. It's not fighting what we hate. It's destroying what we hate or fighting what we hate, saving what we love.
Yeah.
But Empire Strikes Back is about evacuate the base. We're on the run. Now Han and they're hiding from Boba Fett chases them. Then they have to hide here. They have to get out. They're being tracked. All this stuff. They get to Cloud City. Luke tries to go save him. Failure again there. He doesn't help them. Lando ends up helping him get out of there.
Fails
but Luke
against
fails
Vader.
his mission there.
Right.
He sort of fails his training with Yoda.
Yeah.
Because he's not able to raise a Star Destroyer. The X-Wing. If you raise a Star Destroyer, that's pretty powerful.
That would be awesome.
He's not able to raise the X-Wing because he's too focused on his circumstances and it's impossible, all this stuff. He's failing there. He doesn't listen to Yoda and have the patience, so he runs off to go fight Vader. He fails in fighting Vader, but they get out of there. They rescue an injured Luke, and they live to see another day. The end of the movie is not some big, great victory in Empire Strikes Back at all. Han is taken.
Han is
frozen in carbonite.
Right.
Luke lost a hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the swelling positive John Williams score at the very end of that is now Leia and 3PO and R2 and Luke, and they're looking out of the side of the ship, and it's the da, da,
right,
and it's the music, and it's very hopeful.
That's right.
We survived. We have better
going.
days ahead of us, and then we regroup and we go fight.
Right.
And Last Jedi, the greatest teacher failure is, one, it's obviously very specific to Luke forgiving himself and learning from his failures of the past so he doesn't repeat the same mistake with Rey.
Right.
So that he also doesn't stay out of it. I mean, part of it also is he doesn't stay out of the fight like maybe Yoda or some others have done. He gets back in there and ends up helping him. But it's also just learning what is actual victory in this.
Right.
And I think that's something that's both Ryan makes clear, but it's also why I love it is I've always disagreed with anybody who says that Ryan's stuff is not consistent with other Star Wars. To me, it's the most consistent. Like, that he actually understands what George Lucas was going for in a lot of these themes. And, like, he actually
Director in the Jedi
why
helps
he does
a
it.
lot with understanding.
Yeah,
He does. And now, again,
if you haven't seen Director in the Jedi, highly recommend it.
I will also finish by
Amazing.
saying, just
we
for
done?
the sake of it. No, we're done.
Awesome.
I'll finish this little tangent by saying there are some things in Last Jedi that, as much as I love, and Last Jedi is my favorite of the sequels.
Mine too.
There are moments, it's funny when you watch it too with the subtitles on, as I do with my wife Abigail a lot, because you catch some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I didn't know his
and names.
names.
This is funny.
Him calling him General Hugs
Right.
is like, not my
Okay.
favorite.
No.
And like I've got a message for his mother.
Your
I'm
mother.
like,
About your mother.
Yeah.
yeah,
not my
about his
favorite.
mother.
Not my
That
favorite.
felt a little Guardians of the Galaxy to me. It
Right.
felt more like a Star-Lord moment.
See, we can bash stuff.
But I didn't sit there and cross my arms and go, that's not my Poe who I learned of last movie.
Nor
Like,
did I
that's
say
fine.
the Holdo move. That's
Holdo
not
maneuver.
possible.
It's
Physics doesn't work that
It's-
way.
physics also
No.
isn't Star Wars. It's not the
Right.
Force.
Now we're gonna start. Now we're gonna start putting applying
exactly
physics as
of all the things. So
That
There-
doesn't happen.
there's
No,
little-
that
there's
moment's
always
not my
things.
favorite either.
I mean, even in one of my favorite sequences of the film, it's not my favorite little back and forth between. I need you to reach out. And
Yeah.
tickle the
Yeah,
hand.
I
What's
didn't
that?
like that.
It's a force. Is that? Oh, you mean reach out? Like
Oh.
to me, I'm
Right.
like, not my favorite.
didn't
I
take.
get what they're going for. Not
Yeah.
my favorite, but then it leads into like maybe one of my favorite sequences of the whole thing, where she's actually feeling and she's thinking of the life and death
Right.
and all of this stuff and how it connects and the force and
Yeah.
there's stuff in there that is not my favorite, and there's a lot in there that is my favorite or is some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to get that out there just in
So
case
what do
anyone's
you
like, oh, these
do-
guys just do his
What do you
thing."
do when you're having dinner and you got a cheeseburger maybe,
And green milk.
and you got French fries, right? And then they have a vegetable medley, and they got like broccoli and carrots, lima beans.
I love it because we're all
Do
going to
you
go the
look
same
at-
way on this.
Do you look at the lima beans and go, "This meal is trash," or do you go, "I'm gonna push the lima beans to the side. I'm gonna enjoy the burger
We just alienated,
The fries.
all of our lima bean
and my
farmers out there.
Pepsi"? See how I did that? I brought that
See,
on
there we go.
Yeah.
That's
don't-
for the
I don't-
consistent viewers.
So I don't like to take the whole meal and throw it away because I don't like lima beans.
I like what you
That's
said
not my favorite.
earlier.
I don't know.
How
I
you
like-
look-
I
how
like
your
what you said
approach
just
was,
then,
Your
too.
approach was.
You
Well,
didn't like that part.
I like that.
Yeah.
I hear what
I
you're
didn't
saying.
like
Go.
that part.
That thing you
See-
said before was good.
Yeah. So I like what you. I actually like what you said earlier.
Repeat that stuff. Don't do this part anymore.
Yeah, knock this off right now.
That was
No.
great.
Sorry.
This is what you
I
said
actually
earlier is
like
the same
lima
thing.
beans. Yeah.
It's the same thing. I
Man,
like
I
that
love
you
it.
said.
No, I'm sorry.
I like that you said it's the moments.
Yes.
Instead of looking at the saga as a whole, or even the trilogy, or the individual movie, it's the moments you remember.
Yeah.
When I think of Revenge of the Sith, people forget the prequels were hated when it came out.
That's right.
But now everybody loves the prequels, right? So when I think Revenge of the Sith, I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. It's my favorite of the prequels. But the moments I'm really thinking for, I'm thinking of Mustafar. I'm
That's
thinking
right. They
of
drive the
Anakin,
feeling.
Obi-Wan. I'm like,
Mhm.
man, that is hard to beat. Like the lightsaber fighting is arguably the best in the prequels.
Mhm.
Like there's some great moments. So it's thinking back to those moments where I'm like, okay. I mean, I love the prequels.
Mhm.
I've said that before. I'm
Yeah.
a huge prequel
Yeah.
fan. I actually like them more now that all I do is think back to these moments.
That's
I'm like, man,
right.
that moment's so good. That moment's so good.
We get to throw nostalgia in there now. too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what will happen eventually for the
Yeah.
sequels. But I think the part of the reason why we're saying, we love the sequels, we love it, is because we're pinning out these moments and highlighting the things that we like about
Mhm.
it. Like we said, some of the greatest quotes. Like put the lima beans aside. Some of the stuff we don't like.
Don't
it
eat
is
'em.
what it is. It's
My kids don't do that. They're like, I don't want them. Well, just don't eat them.
Don't eat 'em.
just
Don't complain. Just don't eat them.
Eat the burger.
Yeah,
in
come
front of
on.
you.
So
Yeah.
if that I rewatched the movie, I'm like, oh, that's not my favorite part. But
Mhm.
I'm not like it ruined the whole thing, because then I'm like, but this is coming up, and I love this moment.
Yeah, right.
So it is thinking about those moments that you enjoy, and there's a lot of stuff
Moments.
there. Or is it the whole movie? No, but there's a lot of moments there that,
Yeah.
that I can like. And I will say,
yeah.
go ahead. Go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, and we might be different than some. I didn't have any problem with the trajectory of the story arc.
Yeah.
I was okay
Yeah.
with that. I didn't watch. Of course, I didn't watch episode 5. Going, why did he go over to Dagobah now? Why didn't he go before? I didn't do that then either.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it, taking it
just
in.
watching
Yeah.
as it unfolds.
I never thought Luke would never do that. That never came to my mind. I don't know what Luke.
Yeah.
In
what
fact,
old Luke would do. I don't know old Luke.
In fact, I think the big, and we've talked about this before, sticking kind of on a little bit of, because people talk about planning. One of the big critiques I hear, the most common critiques I hear sometimes, is that the sequel trilogy wasn't planned out ahead of time. And now, while I do see,
I'm laughing because
Yeah.
you mean like the prequels were?
so
Or the
Yeah.
originals?
Yeah.
Originals are the least planned.
Least,
of
right.
all.
So-
Is that what you're gonna say?
yeah, I was gonna say what's
Yeah.
funny is, while I understand, I mean, I am one of those
George
people
didn't
who
know he was
does,
making a second movie.
and I'll throw a bone to some of those people who, from this standpoint,
We calling them dogs.
I hear, the people who think this way are absolute
They like bones.
dogs. Here's a bone for you, you mutt. No, mutts.
It's our compassion.
It's like,
Compassion.
no, but I was gonna say, I will say, as a fan of shows who, like, I do love and appreciate those shows like a Breaking Bad or something like that, who, while Vince Gilligan figured out some stuff while he goes, there are things that early on who knew we have to get, I think he said, we need to go from Mr. Chips to Scarface.
He knew a point.
And there
that he
are
was- he
things
was
that
gonna
early
go
on they leave trails of, oh, once I've seen the whole thing, it's interesting that they had this from the beginning.
Mhm.
So I do understand that when you have one director and a movie is set up, and then they have another director, and then they have another, that just like all studios, I think, should be pivoting and should see what works and see what doesn't work. That I understand that it may be, in hindsight, when you're reading into a certain situation, and then maybe you think like that storyline didn't completely get fulfilled, that you're like, oh, maybe we did a whole episode on like some untied like story loose ends or whatever we
Loose
said.
ends.
They're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's some things, and I think that's consistent though in the original Star Wars. There's a lot of things
Sure.
that are like, I don't know. How did this play into it? What's his history with the Greedo, especially? I mean, he works for Jabba, but like
Right.
they have some extra beef. There's other things that are there.
Yeah.
But now, having said that, I think that one of the biggest things, and Ryan's in Directing the Jedi, Ryan talks about when he's writing a movie, his thing is, I have to write not just what I would want to see as a Star Wars fan. I would want to be challenged. Like, I want to not get what you're expecting. Now, that doesn't mean I just flip the script and do something just for the sake of, I'm going to be surprising. But I'm writing characters for what is the biggest challenge. If I'm writing and these characters need to experience growth, what is the biggest thing they each need to learn and each need to face? And Luke has to deal with his shortcomings of what happened to Ben.
Right.
Poe has to learn how to become a leader. He's a hot shot. But if you're going to be a leader, you got to learn how to, it's different responsibility. And Finn needs to learn, are you with us because you're friends with Rey? Are you on the side of the good? Are you on the side of the rebellion? Like, are you, or the resistance? Are you actually all in on this? And that movie's about him running away, not sure of his place. And then he lands, anyone who says that he doesn't have a great character arc, he lands, by the end of that movie, he's rock solid with the resistance. That's what his movie's about.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there, but the biggest question I think that JJ set up, talking about like what do we expect from our movies, I remember watching The Force Awakens going, man, why did Luke, I'm surprised Han died. Like, not it was a mistake. It was, what has happened to Luke Skywalker that he wouldn't go rescue Han Solo? Or like that in the Force, he didn't. Everything we've seen with Luke Skywalker is that if he can help his friends, he will. Why is he on this island?
Why is he not stepping in?
And the biggest question Ryan had to ask or had to answer is, why is Luke on the island? What has happened that he's so broken? So when we saw 8 and found him broken, I didn't expect that he would be like, hey guys, I'm doing great. I'd be like, where have you been? Some tragedy has happened. So to me, while I was surprised by a lot of what happened, I wasn't going, why is Luke so down? Why is he so? I'm like, well, it makes sense why he's down.
He's got to be.
This is what happened. So to me, I felt like that was very consistent with what I would expect.
After 7.
After 7. Like that answered that question as best as we could.
Otherwise, he would have gone and saved Han.
He's disconnected from the Force because of what happened, and he wants the cycle of violence to end. And that he thinks if I end this cycle of Jedi, I will end the cycle of extreme violence. There's going to be conflicts throughout the galaxy, but as long as there are not more Jedi to then fall to the dark side, then he thinks that there will be less of these dark Jedi, and it's time for the Jedi to end. Now, he ends up being proven wrong because the Jedi are inherently good. It is the straying from the good. We've had a whole episode about this too. But
not to mention, how does
there's a lot of
Kylo turn to the dark side without Luke, without something happening to Luke being involved or in a traumatic state? Because like otherwise, if Luke was completely fine and normal, I don't see how Kylo would have turned to the dark side. He would have been involved, which obviously we know he was involved.
Right.
And they're actually hashing out a lot of that story now in the books, and then we're seeing some in Mando. We're seeing Luke building, and Boba Fett building the temple and stuff with the kids. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions that had to be answered going from movie to movie.
I love that he's on the island. I love that he's stepped away from everything, that he's given it all up. It's exactly what we saw, and that's what Yoda did. Just disappeared on Dagobah.
We just
That's
watched
what Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan
did.
Obi-Wan did.
Why would he do something? Why would Luke be better than Yoda? That doesn't matter.
He's probably looking at them as like, my masters who trained me did this.
Right.
And then how perfect is it that
Which is
Yoda?
why Rey in The Rise of Skywalker goes, well, Luke did it. I'm going to do it too. You were right. I need to come live here. And then Luke learns from Yoda to then turn around and teach Rey, no, I was wrong.
And I'm okay if you don't like it. Just be consistent. Don't like Yoda for the same reason.
That's why I
like
love. That's why I
same
think it was
reason.
smart that Ryan had. So Ryan had talked. I think Ryan answered some questions on Twitter.
Don't like it.
Hate all the Jedi. They all quit.
That's
if
it.
You're gonna
All
hate
or
them,
nothing.
If you're gonna be mad at Luke,
Ryan has
I
some
think that's
fan.
unrealistic. Then blame everybody.
Ryan has some fan interactions on Twitter sometimes. Ryan has some little back and forth fan interactions on Twitter, answering some questions, and someone asked like, did you ever consider anyone else other than Yoda showing up at that Force tree? And he did say, yes. I think he said I
thought about
Hayden. I think he said he thought about Hayden, is what he had said.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he said,
not Anakin. Hayden playing Hayden.
There's Hayden. Yeah. Hello, son. My name is Hayden Christensen.
That would be weird.
I'm here, may the
The
Force-
young son talking
now
to
it'd be,
the Luke.
It'd be now deeper voice Hayden, who
Yeah.
I love. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. It
Um,
would be weird. A young,
so
Yeah.
it's somebody like
and
a
he
younger.
talked about
that
he talked
wouldn't-
about how he liked
what I
the
mean?
idea
Well,
when he was writing it.
it'd be
He
hard.
liked the idea, and he said,
Shadow of the Sith.
Shadow of the Sith
"Yeah." The big reason why he said he didn't is he said it just didn't make sense
visually. to
visually
see.
that
Yeah.
the old version is going to connect with the young version of his dad, who he's never met the young
You
version
don't
of
even
him,
know him.
and that it would be this weird,
Yeah.
like. But now, as the son talking
supposed to be the
or
older,
like
wise-
the older son talking to the younger, who's got like that they would have this. He said
Boy,
it
if they
it
would've
just didn't
crucified
really
him for that.
work. He's like, I love the idea of being able to try to get Hayden in there and have Anakin
Yeah.
in there, but it just didn't make. It also didn't have the impact that I wanted to for this particular moment because
I thought Yoda showing up was perfect.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Anakin-
when I saw
Anakin
Yoda,
talking-
I was like, no way.
Anakin
Yeah,
talking
that's
to
exactly right.
Kylo would make a lot more sense. Because Anakin
Yes.
is like, I went to the dark side.
Absolutely.
You're worshiping Vader. You don't know how
You
I
don't know the
ended.
truth.
I came back.
That's right.
That would
Yeah.
make more
I
sense.
was wrong. Yeah.
But what Anakin could teach Luke is different. There's not a ton of lesson there for Luke. Luke was there with Anakin's last moments, like
Right.
with his father's
Yeah.
last moments. But I love the choice then. In versus, they couldn't bring Alec Guinness back from the dead to do it or anything like that. But to have Yoda be the one who did sit it out, who pretty much he trained Luke, but he went to Dagobah and that was kind of left out his days. To have him be like,
That
listen,
makes sense.
get back in the game.
Mhm.
You're not done yet.
Mhm.
Right.
You can go die
'Cause he's-
like I did
yeah.
afterwards. But the greatest teacher failure is, and the last thing that Yoda, one of the
I wanna
last
talk-
lines
yeah.
that Yoda says in Revenge of the Sith is, failed. I have.
yeah.
And
Failed, I
it
have.
goes and after failing to
Yeah.
defeat the Emperor. There's just so
Yeah.
many parallels in
it's-
between them.
It's funny. I actually
Beautiful.
made a video on this. I think, or a Twitter thread, and I'm turning it into a video. And it was the more I thought about that moment, I realized Yoda is telling this lesson to Luke after realizing he went through the same thing.
Mhm.
Right? He went into hiding. Didn't want to train Luke. Luke showed up. No, he's too old. Didn't want to train him.
Mhm.
Luke's doing the exact same thing to Rey. Yoda learned in that moment from Luke. Young Luke at that time learned from Luke. He was wrong.
Mhm.
Yoda was wrong. Proved that in training him and in agreeing to do it,
Mhm.
Luke ended up being the savior in the moment in the originals, right?
Right.
Now, here's the poetry, right? The poetic moment.
Mhm.
Yoda comes back and is teaching Luke what Luke had pretty much already taught him, not knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
About him
Luke
showing
forgot the
up.
lesson that he didn't know
Luke
the
forgot
lesson he taught.
was the lesson in showing up and begging to be trained. He was
Right.
the lesson.
Right.
And now Rey's doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And Yoda is showing up to remind Luke, do you not remember this was you
That's right.
showing up to me? And I didn't want to train you, but then I did, and look at how it turned out. It worked out.
That's right.
This is you now. You need to turn around and train the
It's
girl.
awesome.
Yeah.
And,
it's
and
the poetry.
Ryan
It's the George Lucas.
thinks on that level. It's not an accident.
Yeah.
Thinks on that level.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody involved in these projects. And you got to remember, these guys aren't working alone. They've got
That's right.
so many people around them. Yeah, they're all thinking about everything. That doesn't
Keeping
mean
them on
that doesn't mean
track
everything
and-
they do is
Yeah,
right.
they have a Lucasfilm has a story group. There's a bunch of guys that are on the story group who are big Twitter guys who tweet some stuff out and stuff.
Oh, that's great.
But they're part of the brainstorming brain trust where like if someone like JJ, especially I think Ryan Johnson feels nothing against JJ because I love what JJ did with Star Wars. JJ's known for doing a bunch of other things and he's got his production company, he's got all of these things. Ryan was kind of, even though he had done Breaking Bad and he had some of these smaller movies,
Mhm.
Looper was a little bit of a bigger hit. Since he's had Knives Out, which became a massive hit.
Right.
Ryan did at its core feel like kind of the geeky Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Like where I'm sure JJ obviously it comes through in JJ's work how much he loves Star Wars. This
Yeah.
is maybe just me reading into it. I think if you quiz JJ and quizzed Ryan on canon, I think Ryan would smoke him. It comes off as that way that
For sure.
I think Ryan feels like
Extremely
he
more
lives
like-
in the trenches of.
He
could quote what happened in this, where like JJ maybe similar to the vibe that you get from a little bit of like Favreau is like Filoni's the canon junkie, and Favreau loves a lot of that stuff.
Loves
the
it,
movies,
but-
great storyteller.
But he grew up with he's making it based on what Star Wars made him feel,
right.
Yeah.
which is great. That's not a wrong way to do it.
And then
Ryan's
Filoni's
a
there
little
to
bit of
check
both
and be
of
like,
those.
well, we can do this or we can't do that.
That's right.
Maybe
so
we
I-
shouldn't say McClellan.
So because of that,
Maybe you should.
I think it just comes through. One, for both of these filmmakers, when we're talking about for the sequels, we're talking about Rian Johnson and obviously JJ. But there's so much there. It's funny when you're talking about it's just funny that when you compare what has happened, it's interesting some of the things that fans will get upset about, and some things that they'll be like, well. No, this is the reason I don't like it, or this
Like what?
is
Do you have one in mind?
Well, what's funny is I'm
Because
thinking about
I don't follow them all. I'm always
so I'm thinking
fascinated.
about there's a lot of things when you're talking about like the science or physics behind that.
Yeah.
People will get upset about that. But I'm
I
when
just
I'm
like
thinking,
to think whenever something like that comes up, I like to just remind people of Harrison Ford's quote. It ain't that kind of
Ain't
movie.
that kind of movie,
kid.
kid.
but it's funny. But yeah, I
Right.
agree. Well, what's funny is so I just finished watching my wife Abigail and I and her parents and her family, we're doing these Star Wars Sunday nights where we're watching a Star Wars movie every Sunday night. Which, believe it or not, I did not recommend. They brought it to me and said, "Would you like to do this?" And I said, I started levitating.
Can it
up
only
in the
be
air.
one? Can we watch a
Vecna got
couple?
you?
Vecna got me. I started just levitating. If I only could.
Pull the trigger. I don't know where that came from.
So what I'm getting at is I just watched Revenge. We just watched Return of the Jedi. So just finished the
It was
original
almost
trilogy.
called Revenge.
It was almost Revenge of the
It
Jedi.
was.
Could
That
do that.
poster, there's a good Revenge of the
Yeah.
Jedi poster.
Right.
That's a retcon, George.
But what's
Retcon.
interesting is, this is my point I was getting at here. It's interesting that in Empire, and they're talking about too old to begin the training, and he's talking about, Luke's too old, and he's like, oh, but I've learned so much. And
Really?
Obi-Wan's been watching him for 20 years.
Right.
If he was too old, that's on Obi-Wan. Like, he's been there. Training
Yeah.
when he's 8. Like, it's
Apparently
this is
now
not-
we know it was Owen's fault
this
the
is
whole
not-
time.
Is he showing?
What's so
All you care
interesting
about
is
That's all you
Is he
care
showing?
about.
it's so interesting that even in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I love, I adored that show. When the time comes, he must be trained.
Mhm.
He should have. I mean, if we're going by what they did in the prequels, by the time he was 9, he was too
Too
old.
old, right.
Yeah.
Yet Luke, they patiently waited till he was 17, and then there's like, well, your father wanted to have this when you're old enough. I guess you're ready. Like,
Wait, what?
Anakin was too old at 9.
Right.
Luke.
That became a thing later, it felt like.
Yeah, it's funny though that
Mhm.
even in Empire though, it is an Empire that he says too old.
Too old.
He's too old
Too
to be in
old.
the training. I'm like,
You just said he went.
Obi-Wan's been watching him for 17 years, 19 years. He could have been. If he was too old, he should have intervened right at the moment of like, listen, you're on the borderline of getting too old. You
Tomorrow is your
tomorrow
last
you must-
day.
Listen,
Harry
Luke,
Potter.
Luke, you must levitate a rock, or else this bridge will forever be burned. We can't. The ghost of Mace Windu will come get us. Like, so it's just funny
as
that
you.
they were so adamant about Anakin being too old.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it's Luke and he's their only hope, they're like,
well.
it is Yoda who later goes, too old. Like
Yeah.
at one point, aren't you
Almost
like,
as a joke,
these are
too.
yeah, too old to begin the
Yeah.
training. That's when Luke
Dismissive. Like,
Luke should
Oh,
have
come
been
on,
like
tell him. I can do it.
Luke should have been like
Ben, tell him I can. Ben,
tell Mike.
oh.
He hits his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When 900 years old, you look, or you are not look as good. You will not.
Right.
They're talking about his appearance, which I think is hilarious. Like Yoda was ever a looker. I'm sorry.
We've seen
Hey,
you at
Baby
least.
Yoda,
You
don't
look
knock
any
it.
better.
We've seen
Grogu's-
He's gonna come out in the High Republic Cup, and he's gonna look like
He's gonna. This is Brad Pitt
Like,
Yoda.
yeah.
He's
got
gonna have
blonde
some
hair.
He's
and-
gonna have some flow. Yeah.
he's built. He's got 6-pack abs.
He's
6-pack
shredded.
forehead.
He is. This is Brad Pitt Achilles version of this is Brad Pitt and Troy,
Yeah,
but it's
hilarious.
Yoda.
He goes up and he's taking his robes. He's just shredded.
You know, I just had a thought about something. I want to share.
It's
it
just
with
funny what people get upset about.
Okay,
That's
so
a good shirt idea.
What?
Jack Yoda.
oh
Continue.
man,
What was your good idea?
yeah, Jedi abs, Yoda. No, I was thinking. You know, it seems like, and you all maybe relate to this. Don't you think? Don't you think in our current day and age, either on Twitter, you laughing about the
It was the noise that came out that was great. He was like, yeah, he's Jack. Yeah, sorry, a current day
some
age
of us have
Twitter.
to do that to look right. Don't you think in this current day and age that there's a trend towards? I don't want to get too political. There's a trend towards outrage, like
Yeah, like
Like
hate gets clicks. I feel like.
victimhood and outrage.
Yeah.
It's almost like you get to be self-righteous in your anger. If you're outraged, people pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into all other things,
Yeah.
but I think in certain parts of the Twitterverse or wherever,
Yeah.
outrage generates.
Yeah.
If you're outraged, then you can become a victim. If you're a victim, then there's power. People listen. So it started with George Lucas ruined my childhood. That's a
Yes.
victimhood statement. That's a
Yes,
fake
exactly.
outrage.
That's one of the most ridiculous
victimhood,
things
right?
I've ever heard.
And I think we jump on that, and now we get outraged about little things because if I'm outraged, then my voice gets louder, and then I can,
Yeah.
then I'm
And
validated.
the other people that feel
or
the same way are gonna hop on board.
You get on board, and then you just
Pile
crank up the
There's-
thing.
it's
And
funny
and
you
it's
say
not
that 'cause-
based in necessarily reality. It's
Yeah.
based in your own need for something. You
It's
know what I
fun-
mean?
Yeah,
There's-
it's funny you say that because yesterday I had someone comment on one of the video I posted, and I think it was talking about how The Last Jedi was one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And someone commented like, "Oh, guys, don't watch it. This is just clicks, or just this can't be real. It's just once clicks, all this stuff." And I was like, "You realize I'm in the minority." Probably.
Right.
I'm like, if anything, people bashing The Last Jedi and Disney are getting way more clicks
Because
than people
they
that are
do.
supporting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's video. I mean, there was a video a while back, and this is not to point out anybody in particular, but there are big Star Wars people on YouTube, Twitter, and stuff like that who post videos, and I think who have especially gotten more negative over the last few years of stuff coming out. But there was a video that I saw a while back from one of these big accounts, and it was titled like Disney lied to us. And
Just can't help but to laugh.
Disney lied to us. And the whole video was about a recent interview that Daisy Ridley had done. Who Daisy Ridley is, I mean, I'm sure she enjoyed her time in Star Wars. She's doing like a different movie, and they're just asking her like about,
Yeah.
there was, with the Rey's, with
You
her
can't
being a
escape Star
Palpatine,
Wars
with her being a
questions, yeah.
Palpatine, all this stuff, was that always the original? And she's like, oh, I don't know if it was always in the original. I know that initially there were some ideas of, I know that like initially one of the things that JJ had mentioned to me was like, we're figuring it out still of where things may go. There was maybe idea of initially maybe being a Kenobi, but then thought that didn't necessarily work as well. And this whole video is them showing not audio of the clip, but showing just her words. And they were like, so this is just shows this whole thing is complete, BS because Disney is trying to sell us that from the beginning they always knew Palpatine would return and that they had no idea where Rey's story was going to be and that it should have been that initially they wanted to be Kenobi, but then because they had to force this thing down our throats, I was like, what are you talking about? That's not what the interview was about at all. It literally was like, that's like asking George Lucas of, hey, were they always going to be brother and sister? And George was like, oh, I mean, just kind of as I went along, I figured
Just
like that kind of felt right. That
Liar.
like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why, you're a liar. George lied to us.
Lucas means
Is it-
liar.
It's just, but the whole point of that is clearly a video like that. There's no substance to what it's talking about at all.
Right.
There's nothing in there that says Disney lied to us or that JJ lied to us or that it's literally a filmmaker doing what filmmakers do of, hey, we had a few ideas. We settled on what we thought was the best one. How unique. That's what filmmakers do. Do you
Yeah.
think that any filmmaker, do you think Steven Spielberg sits down and makes I mean, everyone knows it's well documented him making Jaws, how they had to pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot, and then what ended up being because stuff went so awry,
the best teacher
failure, because the failure of the best teacher,
right.
The best teacher failure is the reason why Jaws is Jaws is because things didn't work well, and then he as a good director pivoted,
right.
And thought, we wanted to do this. I thought shooting on real open seas would be easier. As he said, it was a nightmare trying to do it. It was so much harder. But a good director pivots.
Also,
it's just so funny to
real
think
sharks.
Real sharks.
It's just funny to think that anyone who has an idea, people in this day and age, last thing I'll say on this, is that it's always enticing after something comes out to hear, they almost went this direction, and then people automatically go, that would have been way better. They would have gone that direction. Like, it depends how they execute it. It may have been great. Yeah. It may have not been. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry.
I think the spectrum is all across the board. We got people who are negative just so people click. We got people who are negative because it's more fun to have something to be mad at.
Yeah.
We got people who are negative because they don't like it. It's all of them, right? And in all of those situations, I all think they're just sad because you don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
You don't have to see what's wrong. You can see what's good and enjoy it. So or love it. You don't have to love it.
Talking
we
about
do,
what could have been. We'll do a whole episode. We teased this a while back.
Here's the thing. Kids ask me, what's the worst movie you've ever seen? I'm like, I don't go to movies that are I can't think of a single movie.
Go to a movie that I think is going to be terrible.
I would be a terrible Rotten Tomatoes critic because I always see the movie and I go, I didn't like that part, but that part was really great, and the special effects were unbelievable, and the acting was great, and storyline I missed a little bit.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I've had some people ask me that recently too.
I just think
what's
there's
the
so
last
much
movie?
value in there already.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me that too recently. There's a couple of interactions where someone was like, well, we were talking about some Star Wars stuff, and then it led into non-Star Wars. Like, are you always really positive on movies? And I said, well, if I'm being transparent, most movies I go to see, it's already because it's a little bit in my wheelhouse of like, I've seen the trailer, and I'm intrigued by what I've seen.
Right.
Or I've already heard not specifics, but this movie is getting
good reviews.
I'm really interested in going to see this.
Same
so
here.
it doesn't formulate my opinion that I am going to love this movie. Very rarely do I hear that a movie is great and I go in and I go, I hated that. I don't think I've ever seen a movie. This is an exact quote from me the other day.
It brings about vitriol. Like,
I don't think I've ever seen a movie in my entire life that has ruined my day. And some people will act like, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, that I can love Star Wars so deeply, and then also claim that I went in with such hope, and I see a movie, and I'm angry about it for months. Like, I really do feel sorry if your life hangs in the balance based on how good the next Star Wars movie is. As much as we're as big as Star Wars fans as anybody. You're talking about the Disney era of Star Wars. I have read 50 times the amount of Star Wars books since Disney has bought Star Wars than I did before.
Yeah.
So I love it.
It's
such a huge part of my life.
Zero.
Well, see, I read some before.
I read a couple before.
Not a ton, but now I read them a ton. And there's not been a single one of these movies that I have walked out and been like, gosh, I can't believe what they like. There are parts of the movie I love. There are parts I don't love. That doesn't mean they're all equal. Like if I have my ranking,
right,
and a lot of the ranking is what you were getting at, both of you guys were getting at, is
moments.
What are the moments? What had the biggest collection of moments that made me feel like?
What do I think back to the most?
Yeah, what did the movie make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, when we talk about ranking our Star Wars movies, it's easy to go immediately. Well, Empire has the "I Am Your Father." That's like you think of the tentpole moments in each of the movies.
Revenge of the
like,
Sith
this is
got
my favorite thing.
got Mustafar
this is
and Order
this.
66, and
So there's when we were talking about sometimes people get upset about. It's always easy to look at like the grass is always greener on the other side of like what could have been is always going to be better than what we got. If you want to take this negative approach of you're just upset to be upset.
Yeah.
One of the biggest examples of this was the leaked script for the Colin Trevorrow episode, the alternate episode 9 episode, that movie that He
gotta read
entitled
that.
Duel of the
It's a
Fates.
comic I gotta read.
So
that,
I
yeah.
sent you guys the comic a while back. I'll have to resend it because we do need to just read it and do an episode on it
Yeah.
because it's fascinating. There's a lot in there that I'm like, this is really cool. I will also say it's very obvious to me why Kathleen Kennedy read this script and had meetings with Colin Trevorrow. And I could very well see that the ending of this movie is so against what I think Star Wars is about that Kathleen Kennedy literally said, you have to change the ending of this movie or you are off this project. And the reason is, and this is not, again, it's
the
not
core
a spoil-
values of the mission
what
of Star
what
Wars.
it literally, and this is, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but there's so much in this that is great. A lot of, I mean, they go to Coruscant. There's a battle on Coruscant. There's all this stuff that's like, this is some cool stuff. Like the ghost of Luke Skywalker, like catches a light, like not catches a lightsaber like he did here. He actually stops Kylo's blade with his hand, and like there's this cool. Rey gets blinded. There's like some Kanan Jarrus in this where she gets hit and then she fights as a blind Jedi. There's all this stuff. But one of the reasons she beats, there's a different Darth.
Oh yeah, I remember.
There's different Sith in it, like this eternal. They go to this eternal being Sith who rises up and then
instead
she
of
fights
Emperor
Kylo
Palpatine.
instead of the Emperor, and there's all this whole storyline. But the reason that she eventually defeats Kylo in the end, and defeats this dark Sith, I believe, is in the final battle, is because she embraces what they call it's essentially justifiable rage. And the whole lesson there is that there is not just the light and the dark, that you need to veer into the dark and use your anger and use your fear, and tapping into that makes you a full Jedi. That it's not just the light and the dark, that somewhere in the middle where you're using and you're going to the dark to help you in times of need when you have to, that using your rage gets you this extra power and like essentially defeats evil. I'm like, this against everything I've ever
Is the dark
learned.
side stronger?
No, quicker, more easy, quicker in a fight.
No,
This
that's Anakin's entire downfall.
So
There's no
literally,
way that could be right.
That is
That
so
part,
against.
yeah.
Even though, again, the script sounds so much of it
lot
sounds
of cool
really
moments.
cool. Tons of cool moments.
Yeah.
That right there, if that is
Can you
the
imagine
lesson,
how many people would have been like,
and it's a
"That's
scene.
not how? That's not possible."
It is a scene
So
of
many people that would've been
Yoda
like, "That
talking
can't
to
happen."
her and saying like, "Yes, you have finally learned your final lesson. That it's not just about the light." And like Yoda is going to say that
Embracing the
everything he
dark?
went against is like he's changing his tune on everything he went against. It goes against the very nature of the Force, the Jedi, all of that stuff, and just essentially says the dark side is bad unless you really need it. I'm like, that is horrible. Like, that is the worst. It's an actual. Again, maybe this sounds extreme. It's actually a dangerous lesson to teach. If this is if this is a morality tale for 12-year-olds, as George likes to say it is. So that is an example of, I've heard so many people and so many people that are knowledgeable Star Wars fans who have Star Wars YouTube channels and shows, and they talk Star Wars, and they read the script and go, this is so much better than what we got. Now, there are moments that I think could have maybe even been, like, oh, this might be a plus over maybe something that
This
JJ
would've been
did
cool,
or this.
yeah.
But as a whole, to me, it just completely falls apart at the end. All the way into the last scene, I'm like, this is awesome, this is cool, and it's cool because you can read it as a comic where they have the artwork.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
stuff.
that sounds.
Right.
And then
sounds
the ending
sick.
of that goes, but wait, that can't be the end. That talk about going against everything we've learned in Star Wars. That's the least consistent thing, and it really would change in a negative light Star Wars moving forward for everything. So that is my long story of people
And
that
let me just-
side with something that's different, but now you're veering off what Star Wars is.
And let me just add to that. That's not a matter of us saying those moments are bad, these moments are good. This is not a choice that a person makes.
Yeah.
This is redefining the Force.
This is redefining, and this is Yoda saying you finally
Redefining
understood
the light and
this
the
is
dark.
yes.
That can't happen.
There
This
is
is-
no
yeah.
gray Jedi
Yeah.
in George Lucas, Disney canon Star Wars. There's no such thing. It's not possible. George has
But I
mentioned this in
that would
interviews
be counter to the
countless
mission
times.
of
You
Lucasfilm.
cannot channel the dark side
for good.
for temporary gain. Everything you
Yeah.
do revolving
Luke
around
said
the dark
it.
sad is corruption.
Yoda
It'll
tells
pull you,
Luke
it'll pull
on
you.
Dagobah,
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
as soon as you head down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny.
Yeah.
There's not this, I will use
It's
the
the
dark
one
to
ring.
do it.
It's-
It is.
It's
Yeah.
not. You can't harness the one ring for good. It's,
No.
it's too. It's
too
just,
much.
It consumes you.
Yeah.
And even for
That's what Gandalf said. I would
That's what
want
it
to do it
just
with
said.
good, but it would corrupt.
Yeah.
it through me.
You can't pull in the dark ring. You
Yeah.
can't pull in the dark
Yeah.
side for.
So that's
And have
again,
Yoda saying, "Way to go! Way to tap into your."
yes.
What?
It's the one thing I failed us was not.
It is
being
literally
evil.
Yoda saying,
Man.
finally, like the final
Yeah.
panels of this thing are, yes, you finally learned that it's not, neither had it right. The light
Would that
side
be
or
cool
the
to kind of
Jedi
see
or the Sith.
visually? Yeah, that'd
That it's
that'd
both.
be a great comic or a great
Mhm.
Legends thing to watch. I'd be like, yeah, that could have been shot an amazing. Like that would have been really cool to see. Would it
Mhm.
have completely gone against what,
Yeah.
what Star Wars is? Yeah.
We should put it on the
That
air right
ruined it.
now that sometime in the coming weeks we'll all three
Yeah.
we'll read we'll
read
set aside. You'll probably need at least like maybe an hour to read it because it is long. It's the full
Well,
script.
is it copywritten? It's
It
not,
was-
is it?
no, it's
Why don't
it's-
we read it live and put the panels on the screen?
Oh yeah.
Is it possible to share? Like,
We'll play characters.
do it there and just put the panels up and we'll read it.
What's
Maybe.
what's
I don't know, maybe
interesting is
that's a
I know
bad
that the
idea.
guy who made
Maybe
so
that's a bad
Colin
idea.
Trevorrow's script was leaked. Then this guy is an artist and he read
So
the
it might-
script
he might
and
own
he
it.
and he posted this link to it on Twitter. And Colin Trevorrow, and again, this is not a shot at Colin Trevorrow because
Right.
there's so much in here that's really cool. Then like, oh, I would have loved to seen some Coruscant. What does Coruscant look like
Right.
in the New
Yeah.
Republic and all of these? So there's so much in there that's really cool. But it's cool that Colin Trevorrow actually commented on this guy's Instagram and said, "Well done. I thought this is a great adaptation, interpretation of
Wow.
the words that I'd written.
Yeah.
Like you
That's
really
cool.
translate this and also though this guy drew all the pictures based on what
That's
Wow.
so
I
it's
wanna see
it's,
this,
We
yeah.
it's
definitely
really
need to look
cool.
at it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's
That's cool.
really cool stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have to discuss
One
that.
thing I was gonna say earlier too is just putting the story aside. One thing I love about the sequels, you mentioned this earlier too, like the acting is just, I mean, it's arguably the best.
Next level.
You know,
Yeah, it's really good.
It's arguably the best. I mean, you can absolutely hate the approach and the route they went with the storytelling,
Mhm.
but there's no question the acting is the best we've had in
Yeah.
all of Star Wars. But just the cinematography too. Star Wars, even the prequels had some great moments. The originals too.
Yeah.
Great moments. But I mean, I think they took that to a whole new level with the sequels and just the different shots, different scenes. I go to Last Jedi because I think that's one of the most, has some of the best cinematography of all of Star Wars. Of Luke versus Kylo crate, far back shot.
Oh man.
Luke's shot
Such
going
a
up
cool
against the
shot.
whole First Order. The Holdo maneuver. I mean, there's just so
The
many
huge-
great visuals
huge
that are
walkers
just
with the
insane.
fists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, you got Poe over the water.
Over
with
the water,
so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome
really
stuff
cool.
throughout. The fight,
Yeah.
I mean, I think was quickly becoming, I think it's, even in my own mind sometimes, maybe I underrate a little bit of Force Awakens now because I think of how much I love The Last Jedi and how fresh Rise of Skywalker is.
Yeah.
The fight in the snow between Rey
Oh, it's-
and Kylo and Finn is one of the coolest Star Wars. The way it's shot
That's fantastic.
in the snowy
I mean, the
forest
red,
and
the red and blue on Rey and Kylo, like the mask
It's
and
so
Rey's
good.
face is
It's awesome.
shot so
It's
well.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Fantastic.
Kylo stopping the laser mid.
Stopping the bullets at the beginning.
Yeah, he's stopping the blaster.
Mhm.
It's so cool. There's so much there that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
Maz. Maz Kanata is a great new
Maz is
character.
great.
Yeah.
I think that having a character that's
I love
knowledgeable,
Kylo too.
a character that's knowledgeable of the Force but is not a Force user,
Mhm.
like who's very much has just been around and seen it and knows.
Well,
It's cool.
I think eventually, I don't know when. I think eventually we'll continue the stories of these characters from the sequels.
I hope so.
I don't
I
know.
hope so. I
I don't
think
think
we're-
it'll
I
be
think
in
that'd be
episode
a-
10. I don't think we'll get an episode 10.
And I think that'd be a
it'll
long
move
time
aside
from now.
Yeah, I think it'll be a while. I think they'll move away from the Skywalker saga. I think they can continue telling the story of Rey and Finn and Poe, even like these characters,
Yeah.
but it'll be a new either trilogy or movie or something that'll be separate. I think. I don't know if they'll make an episode 10, but I think they'll still tell. Like they could focus on having Finn be the main character and tapping into his force
Right.
sensitivity and ability that they kind of teased in the Rise of Skywalker, and kind of go that route where it's not the Skywalker saga anymore because Finn's the focal point, not like
Yeah.
Rey and that whole thing. But then still continue telling the stories, but not being,
Right.
still having the conclusion of Skywalker saga be there.
One of the challenges I think of the sequels is the time between the movies is you don't have gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, because even Last Jedi to
It's
Rise of Skywalker is a
it's 1
short.
year.
Yeah, it's
It's
1
this-
year.
it's
in
not like we've got a
Book,
lot
it's
of
about 1 year.
adventures happening between.
Yeah.
So the stories of Ben, like if you want to take Kylo's stories, there's not a lot that we can
Which is why we're seeing a lot
explore.
of these projects, Mando and stuff, coming actually between
right
originals
between
and
the
and the
trilogies.
sequels. Yeah, because that's
Ray
a
has
bigger
some
gap.
stuff to explore for
Mhm.
sure. Right?
Ray
I
does.
think,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things there's a lot of stories we could talk about. Maybe about Finn. I don't. It's hard because you got Stormtrooper Finn, and then you got Finn, and then you got that
Here's-
path. Rose has
Yeah.
some stories to tell.
I thought of an interesting thing. What if
Poe has some stories to
what
tell.
if Grogu is still out there?
Poe definitely does.
That's the guy we have a lot to explore.
What if
So,
Grogu's still around?
Grogu? Yeah.
Who knows where he
Absolutely.
is? He's probably a little older by this
we
time.
don't have a
and-
definitive answer on where Ahsoka is or if she's still alive there either.
Yeah.
Remember Filoni had said. Filoni
People were like,
commented because people were like, "Oh,
you
we
can hear her voice in the
hear her
Rise
voice,
of Skywalker.
so
She must
those
be
are all
dead."
Force ghosts." And Filoni said, "No, it doesn't mean that she's
Doesn't mean she's dead.
just like Luke can talk to Leia and go Leia, and she can hear him. Luke doesn't mean."
Doesn't mean
I
that.
love Filoni is
Well,
like,
Filoni's
Which means
even
that
in a
she's
never,
not.
project,
she's never died.
Filoni's like,
Yeah.
even in a project I'm not involved with, you can't kill my
You're not
character.
killing
You're
Ahsoka.
not
She's
touching
not dead.
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Not my
If
Ahsoka.
anyone kills Ahsoka, it's going to be me, and it's not going to happen.
I
It's
believe
gonna be me,
Ahsoka
and
will
it's not.
live to a ripe old age.
Ahsoka
Do we
will
know how
never
old
die.
her species lives? We don't know.
I think she will
I know,
live.
regardless of her species, she'll never die.
She'll never die.
She's
She'll
gonna
never
end up
die.
on,
She'll become the Force before she.
She's going to end up on Mortis
Yeah.
It's great.
with
I wonder if
Grogu
that
and
actually happens.
Ezra.
Wait, we're gonna
Ezra's
get an
gonna be-
Ahsoka show.
They're going to tie down Ezra and Mortis.
Ahsoka show. That's a whole nother thing.
Kanan, let me
Going-
go.
Going off.
I didn't
not-
realize this was a forever. I want to get out of here. Kanan.
Going off not just the sequels, but like the other projects too. I mean, Mando.
If we want to throw a
Everybody
little
loves
Disney
Mando.
love,
Everybody loves Mando. I haven't found one person that doesn't like Mando. Let's be honest.
can I just mention how far removed Disney is from these shows? It's like you can't get any farther. Like I'm about as close to Mando as
Yeah.
you know the head of Disney is.
You think
The
that
mouse wants the cheese, baby. That's all they want.
That's it.
Make me the cheese.
Yeah.
They might step in and
Make me
go.
cheese.
They might step in and go. No, maybe not that one.
No, it's Lucasfilm.
But if you keep bringing in the money, they're not gonna.
No.
yeah.
It's like, did Disney have anything to do with Toy Story? No.
No, no.
Did they distribute it? Oh
They-
yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They have some
Put their
say in
name on
when
it.
it's released, and that's
That's
maybe
it.
about
They
it.
didn't make it. They
Don't
bought
step
it.
on all of our projects. Let's
Right.
figure out a plan on when it's coming out. I'm
That's
not
what-
telling you how to make it though.
So I was telling my kids when this big Oscar-winning movie Coda. Have you guys seen Coda?
I haven't
No.
seen it.
Oh,
you
it's
do.
so great.
Yeah.
Coda is awesome.
I know that it got all the awards. Got a ton.
Oh, killed.
Yeah. It was
So
awesome.
it's on Apple TV
Mhm.
Plus, right? They had nothing to do with the movie.
yeah.
They bought it.
Yeah.
Nothing. They just
They
distributed
just
it.
distribute it.
They saw it at Cannes and thought, this is great. We want to put it on our platform. They distribute it. That's about what we got from Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Because why? Kathleen Kennedy's been running Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
gonna
They
tell me
bought
another.
what- it's like buying Steph Curry and then saying, now let me teach you how to shoot.
And it's not like
no, they bought it because it's already great.
it's not Disney didn't
Yeah.
take a chance
Yeah.
on Star Wars and think
No.
like, well, it doesn't look like any studio is gonna get this made without. We need to fund it. Kathleen Kennedy, they were doing this before.
That's
Like, it was
exactly
just
right.
an independent thing.
Disney brought it in and said, we want to get behind it. We want to put money in this thing because we know it's going to pay off.
yeah.
Now go make us some great Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And they pop their head in and go, how's it going? Good. Okay, great.
Cool.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where's
Force
my check?
Awakens, top 4 grossing of all time.
Yeah.
Green light, go.
Go.
Make,
Great.
Do, now we got Disney Plus.
Oh, Mando! We're gonna launch with Mando. We're gonna dominate
don't
Disney Plus.
care.
It's gonna become one of the greatest streaming services ever. Okay, yeah.
They say,
They
yeah, they
greenlight
go, oh, wait,
anything.
Jon Favreau, who's made us a ton of money in Disney, You did Jungle Book. You did Lion
That's
King.
right.
You did Iron Man, you
That's
did-
Go get it.
That's the power Disney has.
Yeah.
They go, we want that guy, or we want
They
that
want them
gal.
involved,
We
yeah.
want them involved. But if it works, they're not gonna. They're
Yeah.
not. They're not. Do you really think anybody at Disney had anything to do with the story? Like,
And even
nothing.
then, it's Kathleen Kennedy
No
who's
shot.
hiring the directors and
Zero.
hiring those. They're just like, oh, it's like they check with Disney and they're like, oh, we've actually Disney, right? This is cool. Oh yeah, we had a great experience with Favreau. Cool, we're using Favreau.
Right.
This is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Favreau has an idea. Cool, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
One small little pivot here because I thought of this earlier, and I
yeah.
think Uncle's the perfect to answer this when we talk about why we love the sequels. What do your kids think of
Yeah.
the sequels?
Oh man.
Right?
Well,
When we
we
talk
had our.
about
We had our. Or we
Our
did our.
Oscars.
Our. What we
Or,
call them?
the swaggies.
No Oscars?
Swaggies. The Star Wars Guys Awards.
No Oscars.
No Oscars. No Oscars. No. Every award.
Uh,
The George Lucas Charlie Rose interview is the,
Yes, you
and
have
then
to
the
look it
edit of the George Lucas Charlie Rose is even better. You can go look it up. We had our swaggies and we voted on Best Actor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We voted on Best Supporting Actor. We voted on Best Actress,
yeah.
and their picks were Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, and Daisy Ridley.
Yeah. And you're like
Yeah.
That says it all.
that is what they're that is the Star Wars that they are absolutely they're all for.
And
mean,
I
they
will
love
say,
it.
I will say this:
Yeah.
my daughter Hannah, you guys would be so proud. Loves Clone Wars every day. Popping on Clone Wars, popping on Rebels.
Rebels. I've
Love
seen
it.
her watching Rebels a bunch.
Loves
diving
it.
into
But my kids identify more with those sequels. That's because that's
Yeah. That is and we talk about
Yeah.
your first time experience it or what movies are you growing up with or what sometimes growing up with is I wasn't around. Uncle was around and went to the theater when Star Wars A New Hope came out.
before it was called A New Hope.
Before it was called New Hope.
Yeah.
The
There was
first
a
movies
time
I
before it
came
was
out.
called A New Hope?
Yeah.
People forget.
It was just
It was just Hope. No, just
it was
Hope.
the old
No,
same
it's
old
just
Hope.
Star
New
Wars.
Hope.
It was the Star Wars Bob Hope.
Wars.
Yeah. That was it. The Star Wars.
So them, your kids being the perfect age of getting to grow up with new Star Wars coming out
Mm-hmm.
that they're experiencing with the rest of the
Yeah.
world as this is coming out too, in a very formative ages in their lives too. It's like it's just like I don't know a single child. I don't know a single child. And this is not to compare the two, but I don't know a single child who dislikes Jar Jar Binks. It's always the older
No,
guys
in fact,
who are
it's
like,
probably a lot of them are saying, oh, who's your favorite character? Jar Jar.
Absolutely.
They love
It's-
Jar Jar.
Loved
it is, and believe it or not, that's what George was making it for the
That was
kid.
why.
It was
Yeah.
because a child.
You know what? Kids are going to love it.
Why?
Love it.
Because a 5-year-old,
Just keep the whole
10-year-old, a little bit different, or a 12-year-old, a 5-year-old doesn't necessarily relate to Han Solo.
Or
Much as an older child might go, I don't know if I relate to him, but I think he's cool. You
Yeah.
get the coolness of him. A
Right.
5-year-old's like,
and even in
huh,
the
Jar Jar steps in poop. A 5-year-old
Right.
goes, hilarious.
Well, that's
Best
what we
thing I've
needed
ever seen.
3PO and R2
Right.
for.
And
That,
even
that
in the
filled the
prequels-
gap in the first one.
Yeah.
even in the prequels, a 5-year-old is not going to maybe resonate with the, Palpatine's politics, right? The whole political
Yeah.
game, and
It goes
may
over
not
your
catch
head.
on to all that,
Right.
but they'll love Jar Jar.
I mean,
and,
I think
and we
it
had
was even
BB-8 in the sequels.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
kind of to give.
BB-8.
I love
One of the
BB-8
reasons
is
we
great.
love the Seagulls, BB-8 was a home run.
Oh man.
I mean,
BB-8 's
talk about
fantastic.
you need a
Brilliant.
new droid. I mean, we did our droid ranking a long time
BB-8
ago.
's so
BB-8
good. Design
is
is
one of
everything.
it's a perfect design.
Mhm.
The personality of it, it is the R2 if not more of this
Yeah.
Perfectly
generation of
shared
this sequel.
between Poe and Rey.
Right.
It's funny. I put up a poll on Twitter and I said, when you see BB-8,
Who do you think?
who do you picture with the droid? And so many people were saying Rey.
I think
And I thought that's hilarious.
But he
because
belongs to Poe.
It belongs to Poe, and Poe even says at the end, "What'd you do to my droid?"
Right.
It's like you heard him.
But
and
then
Rise of
you go to
Skywalker.
Scratch him like a puppy. Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
hey, buddy.
buddy.
You,
I'm like, that's hilarious.
But then you go to
That's
episode
great.
9 and it's Rey training and BB-8 is
BB-8.
following
Yeah.
her around. What's funny is I think of BB-8 with Rey. The reason why though is because of all of the
Jakku.
Target Star Wars merchandise.
Yeah.
You have
They
before
tapped into
Mando.
that.
Rey
Now
fixing
with
the
Mando,
antenna.
Now with Mando, when you see
What
the Star
about
Wars
the
section, a
droid?
lot of it is Grogu, Baby Yoda stuff,
Yeah.
Right.
Grogu stuff in Mando. Or it is BB-8. BB-8 is synonymous with Star Wars now. Like,
Yeah.
you don't see as much R2 stuff at Target as you do BB-8
I see BB-8
stuff.
and
no.
Dio.
Dio, you'll see
Yeah.
Dio stuff, but like even on a T-shirt, you'll see a silhouette, and it'll be, it's supposed to be on Jakku, and it's Rey with the staff, and it's BB-8 right
Yeah.
next to it. Like
Right.
that is
Yeah.
iconic. That's almost this generation's Luke looking at the twin suns. Is
Yeah.
Rey with the staff and BB-8 in the sand right next to her. So that crushed it with BB-8. Just a cool design,
I know.
and also is just like adorable character-wise.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting because that, struck me the other day. I was thinking, I wonder what other people think. Like, do they naturally think, oh, BB-8 with Rey or BB-8 with Poe?
That's
So
a
I posted
great
it.
question.
And there were people that said Poe. It wasn't like everybody said Rey. It was, there was a good mix
Right.
of both on this poll, but I think the majority ended up voting Rey.
I thought of something else as you were just talking. You know who else got a resolution to their story arc? Really? Is 3PO.
Oh yeah,
3PO.
I mean,
the
the most
Chewbacca.
emotional
Chewbacca got his medal.
moment.
But that-
Chewbacca. I mean,
But the story, what Uncle said too, the story
yeah,
that 3PO
Babu-
gets in 9 is
Oh.
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, he finally has a big role.
Huge
like,
role.
like
Saves
not
Also,
just
I
like
think-
not just like big as in like on screen,
that's right.
like acting wise. Big as in like crucial to the story.
That's right.
I
And
thought it
a
was-
sacrificial.
It was
Yeah.
definitely
Taking
justice for
emotional
3PO there of getting him
Wow.
a ton of. It was also, to me, it was his best comedy stuff too.
Yeah.
There's
He had-
so many good.
How many
things
lines
there.
did he have?
One
I
of my
mean-
favorite is they're falling. They're like Ray. They fall through the quicksand. This is the Ochi Bastoons scene where they're falling there and they see the Ochi like wreckage and they're looking around like Ray, Finn, no, everyone all right? You didn't say my name, sir, but I'm all right. Yeah, it's so good. There's so many of these great lines that
so good.
that 3PO has
Yeah.
in 9.
And
But
how
then he
does-
has the emotional stuff as
And
well.
how does it look right when she says, "Wipe that smirk off your face, 3PO"?
Yeah,
How does that look right? It looks
Yeah.
like he does have a smirk.
he
on his
does.
face.
I
He
know.
does.
He really does. Wipe that.
Yeah. Again, I mean, we just
Wipe
like
that look off your
highlighting.
face.
Are there things that we can nitpick? Sure, you heard some of it in this episode.
Yeah.
But we just want to highlight some of the stuff we love about it.
Not-
Some of the things we're thankful for.
One of my I wouldn't say one of my least favorite, but one of the things that I'm like, oh, it wasn't my favorite right when I saw it in Rise of Skywalker is the somehow Palpatine returned.
Or
like
they fly now.
they fly now.
They
They
fly
fly
now.
now.
Right.
It wasn't really my
They
favorite.
fly now.
They fly now.
They
fly now. I was
That
like,
wasn't my favorite.
It felt like that wasn't necessarily authentic. Maybe it
Yeah.
felt, but they took a swing. They were going for kind of a jokey little thing. To me, it didn't land.
Yeah.
Doesn't ruin my part of the movie.
is
Also,
what it is.
having read almost, I'm 3/4 of the way through. Uncle just finished Shadow of the Sith. Wow, is there a lot of stuff about somehow Palpatine returned? It
Somehow.
means a whole lot more coming
Yeah,
from
seriously.
when
That's
Beaumont
right.
Kim is talking about secrets, dark magic, cloning, secrets. Only the Sith
And his
knew,
character.
all that stuff. His characters in
And
it,
how
too.
he knows that. Because everyone's like, who's this random
There's a lot
guy?
of
How
those
does he know
gaps that
about
are
the
filled in.
secrets of the
I
Sith?
know how
Well,
Palpatine returned. What's my theory?
Somehow.
No, he's got
I'm
it.
just kidding.
Say the theory
Episode
again.
6 was a
Yep.
clone.
That's his.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I thought it was he.
That's why they look different. That's why he wasn't worried about dying. That's
He
why
didn't care
the
that
whole,
Luke even tried to strike at
That's
him.
why the whole plan about the overthrow and you can join him. It doesn't matter. That's not me.
I think actual
That's-
Palpatine's behind with a remote controller.
Palpatine wasn't even on the Death Star. That's my theory.
He's never left
Wouldn't that be a
Exegol.
great
He never left Exegol.
Great theory.
He never left Exegol. He's been there the whole time building, always in the shadows, always controlling things from the shadows. That
Dating to the prequels.
goes all the way back.
Anakin never
He
met
wasn't
him.
even there. No, I'm just saying. I think
But
that
yeah,
I
no.
think that fits. Now you might call that retcon. I call it brilliant.
I call it. brilliant.
Call it genius. No, I don't know. It maybe doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but to me, if we all learn all about this cloning stuff, now it goes all the way back to Grogu, and now we
Yeah.
hear about. Well, I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah,
I do think it's funny
But
when people say
He's been messing and cloning for a long time.
long time.
It would totally make
To
sense
say
that
he had
guy on-
contingency plans is an
Yeah.
understatement.
I do think it's funny that
Snoke.
people gripe.
They explained
Yeah.
the fleets.
Right.
They explained
Yeah.
the people who are on
Yeah.
the fleets.
That's
Like,
right.
Yeah.
all these things that could have been these little like, oh, so there's been people. Yeah. Like
They
this
have
actually,
been.
they
Yeah.
get into all of this stuff.
That's right.
I do think it's funny when people gripe about how Palpatine was like there's clones of him. He was working on like you mean the one guy who's been obsessed with cloning from day one?
That's
His
right.
entire mission's always been about
Who
cloning.
That's
overthrew
right.
the entire government
Because
and
of
the entire
clones?
galaxy because of clones would use cloning? You don't say.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh, I heard
hilarious.
someone say this a while back, and I thought it was a good analogy too of someone predicting before Episode 9, before the first trailer of Episode 9. One of the guys was like, I think that Palpatine's going to come back. I remember heard someone saying that, and someone who was on like a show with them was like, "Oh, they wouldn't." And he's like,
They wouldn't do.
"They wouldn't do that." And this guy's point he made was he said
Somehow
to me,
Palpatine was
he
cloned.
is through 6 movies. He's the overall bad. Through the first 6 movies, he's clearly the overall
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
With Snoke out of the way, there is a big bad that is coming. There's something that's overarching this whole
Why
thing.
wouldn't it be?
And someone made a prediction and said, like, what if he's just working? He's been working stuff from the shadows. We know that he's been trying to do stuff, and he almost hit like on the head, like that he had come back. But his analogy was, he said to me, Voldemort in Harry Potter is what Palpatine is to the Skywalker saga. He's the clear big bad.
Yeah.
It'd be weird
If somebody else was
if
in
through
there.
6 books and 6 films, Harry Potter, his number one nemesis is Voldemort, and then the last book he's just not in it at all.
He dies,
and then
there's
they like
somebody
just
else.
turn. Then they just turn their eyes to like Bellatrix Lestrange is just the smaller bad for the big climax.
It
That you would
wouldn't
feel
make
like that
sense.
doesn't feel.
Yeah.
So someone had predicted that before, and I remember when I watched it and thought, it's a good analogy. I don't think it's going to happen, guy. And then the next trailer, and then the first trailer came out and said, no one's ever really gone. And I thought, holy crap, that guy's right.
That
Who is this guy? Sign him.
awesome.
He was right. So yeah,
That's
that's
great. That's
So
great.
just to me, when some people are like, you might have problems with maybe the way you think that it was presented, or it's not your favorite. To me, it's still very consistent
Yeah.
as to what could have happened.
Right.
So, and again, it's also just what happened. Deal with it. Like we always talk about. We like to engage
That's a shirt
with
idea.
the story.
It's what happened.
Deal
Deal,
with
with it.
We like to engage
Eat
with
your
the story
mayonnaise
that's
and shut
presented.
up. Drink your Pepsi.
No,
Wait a
I
second.
mean-
this is great. Our compassion leaves a trail.
Eat
Eat
your
your mayonnaise and shut up, Star Wars guys. Our compassion leaves a trail.
That would be the
we got a
most-
giveaway coming up.
The most
Hilarious.
weird shirt. Yeah, Pepsi's fine. That would be like
Be great. Wasn't
nobody
that
would
great?
ever buy that shirt
Pepsi's
except for me. Nate? Would you do me a favor? He makes these great shorts. Would you do me a favor and make a short? And
You
put
mean like
together,
shorts that we could wear?
Yeah,
yeah.
Makes these great athletic shorts.
Knit some.
they're awesome. They're like
So,
flexible, but they breathe.
just wait to see his winter mittens that he's preparing.
Always in the
shadow.
shadows, knitting. Like that's what Palpatine's like.
That's Nate's
knitting
contingency plan.
sweaters. It's like Gilbert Gottfried played the
That is.
Emperor.
Jaffa, come to Exegol. Are you tired of winter weather? Come to where it's lightning all year round, Jaffa.
Now he's doing ads for a vacation.
That's it. Yeah, it's the brochure. We talked about the brochures last time of the brochures for the rebellion. We didn't talk about what's the Exegol brochure. Ever been fascinated with the darkest evil in the
You
entire
ever
world?
wanted to double your chances of getting struck by
tired?
lightning?
Are you tired of sunshine all the time?
Are you tired of
Seeing
hope
the
and
sky?
peace in the galaxy? Are you rotten to the core?
That's awesome.
Boy, do we have a place
we have
for
a
you.
place for you. Hurry. Get there quick.
Good luck finding it.
No, would you make
Yeah.
a short video of all the reasons why Palpatine in Episode 6 was a clone?
Oh yeah.
I
You
mean,
gotta
that,
give me a list.
that'd be a hot take. I bet
Yeah.
you.
Hot
I'd be
take.
like,
You
what?
get some comments there.
Oh
All
yeah,
right,
we'd
I'll-
get great.
Well,
comments.
you can
Boo.
give us some reasons why. I mean, I've given you a couple.
Yeah,
The clone died. He didn't die. That's one.
true.
He wasn't worried about getting struck down with all your might, and your journey toward the dark side will be complete. He wasn't worried about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's always been into cloning,
It's been the cloning.
right?
Yeah.
If you look probably close enough in 9, you see a version of himself in one of those big jars.
He's in the
Ooh.
reflection of
He's
like,
in there.
looking around
like
the
it.
corner.
I don't
I
know.
like it.
I don't know. I don't know if that's out there anywhere, but I like that.
It's out there now.
That'd be
My
good.
Harry
Internet is
Potter
forever.
theory is similar.
That'd be a great video.
Voldemort is Harry Potter in the future.
Ooh.
It's his future self.
So he's killing. He fights himself.
It's
like
him
where
in the
this is going.
future.
I like
Harry
it.
Potter. We continued that story along, and then it repeats itself because he's now Voldemort and he kills.
I like it.
I
So
don't
he
I like it.
he either is.
That's
is,
just to make
as
people
Batman
mad.
says.
That's just
That
to
is
make
just to
people
make
mad.
people
As Batman
mad.
says, you either die the hero or you live long enough to defeat yourself as a Horcrux.
to lose a nose. Yeah.
Oh, something about villain in there, but I like that one better.
You either die the hero or you live long enough to watch your nose fall off your face. I am Voldemort.
That's so good.
He fights himself at the
When are
end
we going to
of
do our
this.
Harry Potter podcast? The Harry Podcast. It just made sense. The
Harry podcast.
Oh, okay. We'll do that one. We'll do Rocky.
That's Rocky. Yep.
The Rocky podcast.
Yeah.
And then every time we're like, hey, this podcast getting off to a rocky start there, Mick.
Right, stinks.
Yeah, no,
That's right, it's
absolutely,
Rocky.
absolutely, yeah.
Proper management. This
No,
podcast
no,
needs
fuck.
proper management. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, kid. Hey, yo, Adrian, you know, like, kid, it's up way past your bedtime, you know? You're also, like, 45 years old at this point, so, like, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my
No,
god.
that's going off the rails. Nate?
Yeah.
Anything else for us?
I don't know. Any other reasons? I
We
think
love
I mean, we could go all day.
we
the
could.
sequels.
Yeah. We wanted to highlight some of the stuff, not just the story moments that we liked, but also just film in general. The
Yeah.
cinematography, the acting. There's a ton of stuff to take
So
away
much
from
we
the
love.
sequels. And also just overall, like Mike said, I think we started with it. Arguably the biggest reason of all, we got Star Wars back.
Yeah.
We got Star Wars back with the sequels. That was the start. We got it back, and we wouldn't have the podcast without it. So obviously, we're thankful that Star Wars is still around, and we can keep diving into new episodes, new shows, new movies coming out. We look forward to all the new projects. Andor's right around the corner,
Yeah.
so we'll be doing our episode reviews for that when that drops.
Yeah.
But Bad Batch is coming up too.
There is the one final thing to always remember as a fan, I think. As a fan of any property, because especially in nowadays when there's reboots and there's talk of we were having a discussion the other day of will they do Indiana Jones after Harrison Ford, and there's been some discussion about that and some quotes from Harrison about like, hey, kid, you know what I did? That's young Harrison Ford, but now it's more like this. But Harrison said some quote of like when I die, Indiana Jones dies, and he was like, it kind of wanted to end with me. But all I say is encouragement, because our compassion leaves a trail. Encouragement to fans out there. Even if the next Star Wars project comes out and it's your least favorite thing, it in no way belittles or lessens what you've already loved of the others. So anyone who's like, some of these
ruined the whole
extreme
thing.
takes of like Disney ruined Star Wars, or I would rather have no more Star Wars than you really would rather because you love what you've gotten so much. You would rather not get anything else because you're worried about it ruining. It can never ruin what you have.
Yeah,
It
no
can
matter
never
what
change
comes
your
out
first
in the
experience.
future, it will not change the way I
It can-
love the prequels. It
can't.
won't change the way I love the originals. It's not going to change.
It doesn't
change that.
lessen any. It doesn't change your first experience with Star Wars. It doesn't change no matter what happens. Nothing will change the fact that I spent years on the playground and on our grandma's front porch and climbing up trees, pretending that
We're
the
in
front
TIE
porch
fighters,
was
X-Wings,
the Star
and the Death
Destroyer.
Star, and
Those things happened. I have notebooks full of me and our older brother Matt writing our own original Star Wars stories when I was like 6 years old and he was 8.
You got to bring those
Doesn't
on
change
here.
that.
We need
Oh,
to
that
hear
would
some
be
of those.
Great. We should
There's
get
some
we should
good
get
stuff.
those like we should have someone do like an animation of one of the stories.
We have some
That
stories
would
that
be
involve Yaddle.
awesome.
I know that. We got some Yaddle stories in there.
If there's one thing I've always wanted more of is Yaddle.
It's Yaddle. Talk
Yeah.
about a looker. We're talking about Yoda not being a looker. Yaddle. Yikes.
I've always
Yikes.
pictured Yaddle being like the ultimate yes man for Yoda. He's like, Yaddle?
Yeah,
all he does.
exactly. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, there's
Yaddle says, Huh? Got him.
because Yaddle's like linked to you. That's the funny thing is Yoda is a master in every sense of the word and his wisdom. And because Yaddle looks sort of like Yoda and the same species, like you feel like kind of just got grouped in there. Like just because.
Yaddle's secretly looking around. Like,
you scoundrel,
What
get
am I
on the
just
council.
because
What am I
You get
doing
on
here?
this
Get in there.
council.
You're probably bright too. Bright. Yes. And like probably has the most minimal knowledge of the
just
Force.
no Force ability. Just
Like
some
just
random.
got grouped in there. Like, oh, you're with Yodels.
Yodels.
Yodel.
And he keeps
You're
skipping
friends
out
with
on.
you're friends with LeBron. You're probably great at basketball, also. Or I just know LeBron. It doesn't necessarily mean anything.
We
I'm
could
friends
do a
with Yoda.
whole show on what Yaddle isn't. Like, hands go up to volunteer for the Emperor. Yaddle's over there, like, just trying to be small.
Yeah, it's like-
Mason's looking for
Where was-
volunteers. Yaddle's
Where
like,
was Yaddle when Mace went
I
to
don't know.
confront
What is it?
Palpatine?
he's following Yoda.
Following? Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah,
he
that's
probably
it.
is like,
That's-
I don't even talk that way.
I
I don't talk that way. I don't talk like that.
I don't even talk
Yaddle?
that way.
Yaddle's talking normal.
I love it. Yeah, I was like,
Was that pretty? Did that sound good?
I speak more intensely to the.
Yaddle's
We want to go. Go to. We want.
Are we keeping this up? Are we? Do we also talk like
We
there's a
really
frog in our
doing
throat
this?
forever, or can I just be like, he's like, Yaddle when Yaddle talks, Yaddle's just sounds like Mace. Like, yeah, he's just like smooth talking.
It's a Lando.
They're like, whoa! I want
Yaddle
to catch
walks
Yaddle
in.
out of character.
Man,
Yaddle
That's all.
walks in on its three-toed feet.
Dude,
walks in, just
he
goes,
was the good-looking one.
Whoa,
of the Yoda
whoa,
family.
what have we here? Jedi Council.
Goodness.
Could we?
Yeah.
Here's a challenge for a podcast at some point. I think it would be great to do the Yoda cast, where everything we say has to be in Yoda speak.
It will be
A nightmare.
To the
That'd be so
podcast,
hard.
welcome.
to the podcast.
Force
welcome.
family.
Oh, I thought you meant like do an impression too.
No. We just
Oh, okay. I thought the whole
I
time
thought
we're
it was
going,
too. I thought it was.
speaking.
Time we speak.
Yeah, like Yoda through the
Failure.
entire podcast. We have to speak.
Most of all. Yes.
Know what I mean?
Not
Do you?
far.
everybody leaves in
Yeah.
the
That'd be
first minute.
hilarious. It would be.
Hilarious it would be.
Forever will it dominate our destiny, though.
Silence. Much of the time would there be as well.
Everybody's just thinking about how to say it.
Thinking how to do it, we would be.
Scared I am.
Oh, man.
Terrible idea Uncle had.
I
Oh,
love
man.
it. I love it. Oh man. I love
Many
it.
followers
Fun.
lost there were.
Still going, this guy.
No, I'm done. I am. No.
Well,
We love
any other
sequels.
any other things before
Because
we
they're
wrap
good. That's why I like them. They're
Up?
good.
That's it.
They're good.
Nate,
Okay.
where can the people find us and remind them about our giveaway?
Yeah, for those of you sticking around, first off, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching all the way through. If you're still here, we appreciate it.
Nobody's here.
Don't.
Let's face it.
Listen, we see the numbers.
At this
I
point,
mean,
I'm almost about to drift off and become one with the Force. I think soon one of these podcasts, you're just gonna see my shirt just sink in and I'm just gone.
So great.
if I could do that special effect, I'll
That
figure
would be
that one out.
amazing.
Be awesome.
That's how we
be
close
it.
out every time.
Be
No,
awesome.
anyway, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend about us at Star Wars Guys. And don't forget to turn the notification bell on because we will be doing a live giveaway here on the channel. We're going to do a live episode once we hit 5,000 subs. We're almost at 4,000 now, so we're getting
And
close.
Nate, what is subs for? Are we
Yeah.
talking sub sandwiches?
Submarines
like
or
$5
sub
sub
yeah,
lunches?
5,000 subscribers here on the channel. We're going to do a giveaway for some Funko Pops, some Star Wars phone cases. We've got our own merchandise we'll be dropping at that time as
This is
well.
some cool stuff.
Some
So
cool
you
stuff,
won't be able
yeah.
to buy that stuff immediately. The first people to get our merchandise will come from the giveaway. So
Ooh.
Oh, I
we're
like
gonna-
it,
we're gonna
exclusive.
give away, yeah, we're gonna have shirts. We've got some Funkos here. We got some phone cases.
I might just
We're
join
looking
this
forward-
giveaway because I've seen some of the shirts and I
Yeah, I like it.
like it. I do.
Me.
We're gonna be giving some of that stuff away. All you got to do is be on the live when we do it. When we hit that 5,000 sub marker, be on the live when we do the giveaway, which is why we like to emphasize turning on that notification bell. And help us grow. Help us get to the 5,000 subs. Help us get to our goal. The sooner we
Please.
get there, the quicker we'll be giving that away. And if it all goes well, which we hope it does, we'll be doing more giveaways moving forward.
Whoa.
So we look forward to it. We can't
Whoa,
wait.
whoa.
Like it.
Just wait till you see what we got for $1 million.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. Anyway, We'll give away a whole falcon. No.
Give away our children. No, we won't. Isaiah, I'm kidding. We'll give away our car. No, we want 1 million subscribers so bad that we sell our soul. Like this whole thing is just it's all a ruse.
Oh,
No,
Anyway,
I'm
you
just
can
kidding.
find us on Instagram. That's at Star Wars Guys Pod to keep up with some information. We post a lot of stuff on there too, updates, some engagement on questions, what you guys want us to do for topics. You can also drop all of that stuff in the comments below. Let us know what you want us to cover in our episodes and what topics you want us to talk about. We've had some fun ones that are Would You Rathers. We've also had some deep dives into things like this as to why we like the sequels. So, again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, may the Force be with you.
I think it's time to inform the Senate that our abilities to use the Force have diminished. Yeah, no kidding, Mace. You guys just let you let the whole thing crumble right in front of you.
After he says, I don't trust him.
You know who told him
I don't
that?
trust
I
him.
still don't trust him.